The following program, though incredibly nerdy, is intended for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised, and you probably shouldn't watch if you're an overly sensitive person.
Good morning. What up? What up? What up? How's everybody doing? I'm actually playing this solo too while I'm talking to you. It's taking a good bit of concentration. Hang on a second. This part's a little tricky. Hang on. Okay, all right. Woo! Hey, good morning. Hey, welcome on in. Hey, welcome in. Welcome on in, everybody. Hope everybody's doing good. How you guys doing out there in this crazy world? Everybody hanging in there? Everybody doing all right? I tried to improve the audio a little bit, as well as maybe potentially the lighting as well. Everybody was like, I liked the lighting before. Oh my God, it was so good, etc., etc. Nah. How's the audio? Is it still rough? It's probably still a little bit rough. Maybe it's a little bit better. A little bit better than it was before. Maybe not. Still in the dope space. This space sucks. 10 to 15% better. That's good. Yeah, first gaming, absolutely, man. We'll get into it. We have some cool stuff to get into today. I think it's gonna be a fun stream, man. It's gonna be a fun show. James Gunn's new boss did tell on him in court, which is incredible. And so we are going to talk about that because, I mean, number one, it's just the universe has this awesome sense of humor. And so it's ridiculous. But also, he actually sort of tells on Hollywood a little bit in general. And I think it's... we got to talk about it, man, because with Netflix actually potentially buying Warner Brothers and having control of the situation, what they're saying about the industry is more than just banter. You know, this is how they actually see the industry. It's how it will affect how it all goes from here. It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. So we will we're definitely going to touch on that and talk about that. We've got a new Disney CEO and a backup. And a CFO that gets to take a picture with the CEO. We've got a new Disney situation, and we have to talk about that because we just have to, you know. And so we'll get into all the details of that. Apparently, he has some contributions to Star Wars. He's got some contributions to Star Wars that we're going to talk about. Within articles and coverage surrounding the new Disney CEO are articles referencing the fact that Kevin Feige will remain on, not go anywhere. Dave Filoni will remain on. It's incredible. So we'll get into that. We'll talk a little bit about that. But then the main topic, the thing that we're actually excited to talk about, the thing that is so weird but so cool, is, of course, this new stuff about Avengers Doomsday, guys. And it's not just... I mean, it's wild. It started off with just a couple of people talking about it. Basically, 4 to 5 different folks have chimed in on it, including John Campea. And we know a lot about this one particular element of Avengers Doomsday. And as we talked about a little bit on Monday, it also speaks to the fact that there's a lot of stuff that was incorrect when this movie was first getting leaked. And I think a lot of the early scoopers and leakers were just legitimately wrong. Otherwise, I'm having trouble figuring out how all of this stuff fits together, but we'll get into it. It is talking about Steve Rogers, where he is from, sort of, what he's been doing, sort of, who he's hanging out with, kind of. And yeah, a lot of questions with regards to that. It's going to be interesting. I'm really excited actually to get into that. We'll look at what Campea has to say about it. We'll speculate. We'll talk about what else could be wrong. Do we know anything about anything? I don't know. Guess we'll find out. So that's what's on the agenda for today. It should be a good little stream, man. Hope y'all are doing well. What's going on out there in the world? Did you walk into the Warhammer yet? Were you waiting? Were you waiting to see when I was going to ask the Warhammer question? Did you guys get into Warhammer yet? Steve Rogers, indeed. Josh can't escape Campea. Yeah, I know, it's true. It's true. And am I pumped about it? Nah. But at the same time, it is what it is. You know, it is what it is. Rather have the info than not have the info. So we will go over it. We'll go over it. Who's cooking in the kitchen? Nobody's cooking in the kitchen right now. Because I haven't started cooking yet. War who? What? Come on now. I thought you were all legitimately getting into Warhammer. Josh, you missed Bianca's birthday yesterday. I actually saw on Instagram super late in the day that it was her birthday, and I got to wish her a happy birthday, actually. So, didn't miss it. Almost missed it, though. There's no bitching in Josh's kitchen. Much love, my dude. Josh greater than Campea. Well, let's not start all that sort of stuff, but thank you. And honestly, all I do is bitch. So there's a lot of bitching in Josh's kitchen. Because I like to bitch a lot. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things. Pedron Everis, welcome to the Nerd Ventures. That's an interesting name, but welcome. Campea sold me for life the way he hyped up Peacemakers. Oh, wow. Did he hype up Peacemaker Season 2 finale? That's kind of funny. Did he really? What an idiot. Guy died in a hang gliding accident. What an idiot. Ibsy with the 10 spot. Appreciate you, brother. Says, I really hope in Doomsday we get epic fight to death between Toby and Magneto. Right before Toby's about to get killed, Tom and Andrew swoop in and the 3 spider guys whoop Magneto's ass. Let's go, baby. Damn. That is some nice fanboy dreaming. And that's fun. That's what it's about. You know, I don't want to shit all over your hopes and dreams, but fuck that. Magneto would handle Toby so easily. Magneto would handle probably all the Spider-Boys real easy, man. You know, like, I like Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man's underrated. But you know who else is underrated? It's Magneto. So, sorry to say, your boy's gonna die a brutal death and never come back. What if they just, hey, Toby fans, brutal death, he loses the fight, his whole world is destroyed, never to return again, no story in Secret Wars, that's it, over, reset after Secret Wars, and Toby Spider-Man's story ends with him being lame and not being able to save shit. Too much? Too crazy? Or awesome? I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. I'm still just a little fired up about everything going on in the world. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. Come back, Toby fans. Come back. I'm sorry. Toby fans. I'm sorry. Plastic web shooters. Checkmate. Checkmate. Yeah, all right. You meant it. You meant it. I did not. I did not hit her. If Toby dies, I'll go watch Supergirl 3 times. Damn. Well, they're going to need it over there. Philip says, member for 29 months, says, took a Discord break, missed the Doomsday leaks. Josh still dropping lore while Nerdventures freak. Oh, Jesus. Warhammer's trash? Never hitting peak? Back in the chat, some hot takes. Max Geek, 29 months. Let's fucking go Nerdventures for life. I mean, well done. Welcome back. Some sauce in there. I wouldn't say bars. I wouldn't go as far as to say bars, because you're wrong about Warhammer, basically. But other than that, pretty good. Pretty good. Good to have you back, Philip. War Bummer? What the fuck? Still City Sanchez says Warhammer is not trash. Yeah, you know what's funny? So, look, you guys did this. I wasn't even going to talk about Warhammer. I got all these other things to talk about, you know? So, this is once again, this is your fault that this is about to happen here. But, last night I was playing Warhammer with Adam. And we had a fun game. Adam kind of fucked up at the beginning of the game, to be honest, and we're gonna just run it back. But one of the things Adam told me was that we're winning people over in chat, and you guys probably don't. I don't know if you know this or not, but I try to look at chat as little as possible. So oftentimes I'll be in a segment and I don't know what the fuck is going on in chat. But he told me, and I'm just gonna have to believe him, that we used to, whenever we would talk about Warhammer, we'd lose like 200 viewers. We'd literally go from like 900, like down 600, like as soon as I start talking about it. And he was like, it doesn't happen anymore. He's like, no, that's not happening anymore. People are slowly becoming more and more interested. We're winning people over. And so we just got to keep up the good fight, ladies and gentlemen. And speaking of that, if you're interested in Warhammer, I actually do want to do a book club with the Warhammer fans. So yeah, we're gonna do that. I don't want to announce anything official, but I'll say this: if you're interested, maybe get on our Discord or something. We'll make some plans. I want to read. I want to start a little book club. I want to start a little book club, a Warhammer book club. We read some Warhammer together. We talk about some Warhammer together. It's a good way to get into it. You know? If you're a gamer, Space Marine 2 is on Game Pass. Go play. Yeah, that's true. And that game was huge for Warhammer, man. Really, really did break through, and a lot of people really like that game. Kind of cool. Do you even have a Warhammer channel that you never use? Yeah, I got 2 of those. Actually, 2 of those that I never use. But we are gonna do that. There's more content coming. Shut your mouth. If you hadn't noticed, things take a while in the Warhammer world, including when you make the content about the Warhammer world. So why don't you just chill out, chill your tits. Started Rogue Trader a month ago. It's dope AF. Yeah, Rogue Trader's really good. The next one that company's making, the Inquisitor game or Dark Heresy, I forget what it's called. That one's gonna be super cool. Apparently you can play it right now if you get like the early access. Like you pay, I don't know what that is. You probably pay a bunch or whatever and get early access. Michael says, birthday stream, let's fucking go. Appreciate you, Papa Josh, and the entire Nerdventures community, Nerdventures for life. Well, happy birthday to you, Michael. Hope it's a good birthday, man. Yeah, hope you're enjoying yourself. Treat yourself, man. Warhammer sleep study? Yeah, right. Yeah, right. More like the not sleep because you're so excited study. They can't all be winners, guys, you know? Yeah. McKellen talking about New Jersey. Is that where the X-Men battle on the Lady Liberty? The statue is technically on the New Jersey side of the river. Oh, it's a good question. I don't think so, man. I think it refers to something else. Heretics be damned, indeed. What's on the agenda, please? I already said this, Steven Seagal. Why don't you go snap some necks and get fat and only be respected in certain parts of the world now? Again, forever now. Stupid ass fat Steven Seagal. We're going to talk about Gunn's boss throwing him under the bus in front of the government. Best thing the government's done in a long time, frankly. New Disney CEO. More of the same, question mark? TLDR, spoilers, yes. And then we're going to talk about the big rumor about Steve Rogers and all this stuff. Enough of this Warhammer horse shit. Let's get into the meat and potato. Hey, relax, okay? I'm doing the best I can up here. I'm not in my normal office. Things are weird. I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't apologize to you, Steven Seagal. Not you. Everybody else, though. All right, let's get into some of this shit, huh? Let's get into some of this shit. I'm actually pretty excited. It's a blessing to have such ridiculous and hilarious things to talk about. It really is pretty funny, man. Okay. Oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Here we go. Oh man, oh man. So we need to talk about this. Christmas came early, like 11 months early for me. The new boss of James Gunn, Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos, was on Capitol Hill. I'm a Bill. I'm just a Bill. Yeah, that Capitol Hill. And basically threw the Superman movie under the bus on video in a clip that is going viral. It's fantastic. It's unbelievable, actually. Let's watch the clip together, and then let's break down what it means, man. This is pretty funny.
Direct question, then. Will this be a fully exclusive 45-day theatrical window?
Fully exclusive to theaters, yes.
And will this be self-enforced? In other words, if you fall short of that?
That is the industry. It is the industry standard for self-enforcement. However, routinely, movies that underperform, the window moves a little bit. And Superman was a little shorter window, and Sinners was a little longer window, but they still could refer to it as a 45-day window.
And so I a direct question, then.
Couple of thoughts. First of all, who are you Snyder fans that are like just are the worst at clipping stuff? It's so many clips from the Snyder fan movement, and I get it, you know, but also you guys are fucking this up big time. This sounds terrible, and all the clips that go viral of me from this very show, which there have been a few. The audio is also terrible on this. You guys got to do so much better. You know, holy shit. But anyways, that's just the ADHD kicking in. Look, this is kind of amazing. So what is the context of this? What does this actually mean? So this is Cory Booker, and this is on a committee that is investigating the potential Netflix deal. Okay, so we've been talking about this on and off for a couple of months now. Warner Brothers and its assets, but really looks like the whole company basically, being purchased. And at first it looked like it was going to be Paramount, and we were all convinced it was going to be Paramount. But oh no, it's Netflix. It was shocking, threw a lot of people off. There's a lot of concern about Netflix, which is the Coca-Cola of streaming, buying a major Hollywood studio. And one of the concerns specifically is about theatrical. Okay, people are really worried that Netflix is going to get in there and Netflix is going to shut down theatrical windows. Ted Sarandos, by the way, has said stuff in the past about theatrical windows, which is crazy. Some of that was actually in the context of him saying, we're going to save Hollywood. They think they have this model. This model sucks ass. No, we're actually going to save them smaller windows, right to streaming, this, that, second, and the third. So he's asked point blank, under oath, publicly, by a U.S. senator, about the theatrical window. The question is, are you going to honor this 45-day theatrical window? Is it self-enforcing? Meaning, if you guys say this, you get in there, is there wiggle room? And who decides the wiggle room? Do you decide the wiggle room? And Ted's answer is so fascinating there because he says, yes, it's a 45-day window. However, even in the current state of the industry, these windows will be extended or reduced depending on if a movie is underperforming or overperforming. And he gave two very specific examples. He gave the example of Superman, and then he gave the example of Sinners. Now, why did he give those two examples out of all the different movies that are out there? Well, I think number one, because he's like in it. Okay, this is a major deal for them. They're probably looking at all sorts of back-end information. They're looking at things that Warner Brothers had access to that wasn't publicly available. They're seeing the full story. And so I think Ted is he's thinking in terms of this company, of what they are currently doing in their theatrical business. And he's making the point, and I think he has to make this point, like for two reasons. Because number one, yes, he has to be honest, but really he has to reframe this whole conversation, right? But yeah, in terms of like being honest, he has to say that even right now, the 45-day theatrical window, which is like the industry standard and that's what's going on, does change right now. And it is self-enforced right now. That's the point he's making. So he's not actually trying to publicly shit on Superman. He's just being honest about what he is seeing in the current business model. And he's trying to explain to the Senate why they're going to kill the theatrical window because they are. And they actually will. And this is why he's making the point that even right now, it's not actually 45 days. It can change and they have to be fluid. Now, the wider context at this point, I think part of the reason why this thing is going so viral, this clip is going viral, obviously because Superman was a massive movie last year. There was huge conversation surrounding Superman. Okay, I had a few parts of conversation about that. I bet some of you guys had a part of a conversation about that, right? We talked a lot about Superman, and the conversation about Superman and its performance, I think, was highlighted by a number of different angles, but mainly the reason was this is a new universe, James Gunn's new DCU. Superman is the first movie in the DCU, and you're supposed to kick this thing off, and the new has to be compared to the old. Otherwise, why did you do the new? Why did you change it? Obviously, the success of the thing you are replacing will be the metric by which you are judged when you replace them, right? So that's like a big part of it. And within that conversation, it's been very messy, you know? There were documents in the state of Ohio that revealed that the actual cost of this movie was $376. I forget the exact number, but $370 about $1 million. I feel like Dr. Evil saying that, but that's like true. That was revealed in the documentation in Ohio. Now, there's a lot of ways that they got that money back. There was tax incentives even in the state of Ohio, which is part of why they had to file that. There's all sorts of tax incentives all around. There's product placement. There's all kinds of ways to like knock that number down. But at the end of the day, Superman was an incredibly expensive movie. It had an incredibly expensive marketing campaign, because it was considered the start of this thing, which is ultimately a big play for them. They want to create all this value down the road, et cetera, right? And guys, we went back and forth on this. I remember talking about the box office for Superman a lot. And then there was a big article that came out in the Hollywood Trades that said the movie made $120 million profit in the theaters. You know, us and other channels such as Dan Murrell sort of broke that down a little bit more, and we're like, yeah, there's no way it made that off of ticket sales. This is likely referring to residuals, to accounting tricks, all that sort of stuff. Many other people had this take for a long time, but we never knew for sure. Gunn has consistently sort of muddied the waters on this, sort of talked outside of both sides of his mouth. And what is new, he literally said when this was taken out of theatrical that it was for Peacemaker, right? He said that. He dead ass looked us in our face, and I'm getting real sick of these motherfuckers just lying to our faces. But this guy literally just came out and lied to our face and said, we moved the theatrical for, it came to digital early for Peacemaker. And it's no, man, his boss, the actual guy running the show now that has access to all the data and the information, is telling Congress as a matter of fact that the movie underperformed in its theatrical run. So therefore, it was taken out of theaters early to try to get more digital sales. They were trying to bolster the numbers digitally, which shouldn't be a surprise. Remember the first week it was released digital, and then it got a cut down to from 30 to 26, in a couple of days. There's been so much data, at least in my opinion, that has supported the underperformance of Superman and a lot of fatigue out there just in general, maybe for the genre, maybe for Hollywood in general. But certainly for Superman, the actual tale is it underperformed. So, man, what a funny thing, dude. The universe has an incredible sense of humor because literally just very much for me specifically with all the stuff we cover and all of the conversations that were out there, it's just so hilarious to get it as black and white as you can. It underperformed. You know what I mean? So that's the first part of it, which is funny. And yeah, we'll obviously get into that a little bit more. I'm sure you have some questions about that. But the other part of this that's really wild, and I'm wondering if people are even appreciating this, is that this is actually a big reveal, and they're telling on Hollywood in general, because I think one of the reasons this whole thing is of note is because Superman was the summer movie. You know what I'm saying? How many views did it get at the Super Bowl again? How many trailer views or whatever? And they're just saying this movie, it's the biggest thing in the world. It's the event of the summer. It was a super, super big deal. And I think if you were to just take the average person on the street and say, hey man, you know that Superman movie? Did you know that movie, the biggest movie, one of the biggest movies of the summer, didn't make any money off ticket sales? Do you know it lost money? And that they had to use accounting tricks and weird product placement bullshit to even get any profit whatsoever? Do you realize that one of the biggest movies, one of the biggest cultural keystones of last year's pop culture conversation was a movie that literally needed government subsidies? It basically needed welfare and tricks to continue to exist. That, I think, is an even bigger reveal. And I think if the public, this is why you say something about theatrical, you look at theatrical, and a lot of people are yeah, I don't really see a way forward. Ben Affleck was even recently asked on one of these appearances, I forget what podcast it was, whatever, but he's asked specifically about Hollywood going broke and not being able to afford to make movies. And you look at how much production levels are down just across the board in Hollywood, and you're yeah, it's stuff like this that's actually a part of the problem. I do wonder how the rest of these hearings and how everything else will go with Ted Sarandos and Netflix in general. But a part of me thinks, holy shit, this guy's telling on the whole industry. And to be real with you, it's a part of the, I think this is a part of the play to justify the purchase. If Hollywood is what Hollywood used to be, I think this purchase becomes a monopoly antitrust issue. But if Ted Sarandos can basically come out and say, Hollywood is fucked, it's a shadow of itself, it deserves to be stuff that's eaten up by tech companies, and we'll do a better job than a lot of these other tech companies, and that's what the future actually looks like. That's a more compelling case. That's a more fair case. That's probably closer to reality. It's holy shit. This dude, this Ted motherfucker is going to politely as possible just kick the body of Hollywood over into the 6-foot deep hole. In my opinion, that's what it looks like to me. And I'm fascinated by it. Of course, a lot of the focus on my timeline and a lot of the focus maybe in our just community or whatever, our space, our part of the internet, will be focused on Gunn, his hypocrisy, his inability to create a profitable Superman, all these different things, which is fair. But I do think there's like a wider thing being revealed here that's like, oh, yeah, it's all popsicle sticks, guys. It's being held up by fucking popsicle sticks. And that's why this purchase is not antitrust, because Hollywood's time of being that player is over, you know? Anyway, those are my thoughts on it. It is a really crazy story, though. And I would love to know what you guys make of it, man. What do you guys think of this situation? It's pretty wild, no? Pretty wild? Pretty funny? Internet gonna internet? All right, let me pull up the chat and see what y'all are saying. Zach says Zack Snyder made Superman a killer. James Gunn put Superman on welfare. Just saying. Yeah, there's some truth to that. Yeah. Who lying? What do you mean though? What do you mean? You still lost your $500 though? I did lose the $500 bet, and that actually is another side of this as well, because like I had a bet, guys, that Fantastic Four would do better than Superman, right? And I was just convinced that it would be. By the way, if Fantastic Four had operated the way we thought it would, I think it beats Superman easily. Like if it would have just a couple of years back before all the Marvel damage, you just asked me like, the Fantastic Four movies coming out, they're doing Galactus and all this stuff, I would be like 800 mil easy, 900 mil easy, right? It does show how badly things underperformed last year, like in the genre, in the space. There were a few theatrical hits here and there, but really, guys, theatrical is still far away from what it was. Yeah, it's super concerning, man. Like, that's why I said, because I paid Brandon the $500, but it felt like I lost the bet twice. If I would have lost because they both got up to 900 million and it felt like the genre was doing well, and then Superman's just, resonating with people more than we thought and outperforming, and you're like, damn, Superman wins. Hats off to you. Your team wins this round. Boom. Great. But that, dude, it felt like the worst scenario. It was like, oh, actually everybody loses and you still owe Brandon $500. I was like, God damn. Like, that's fucking terrible. So yeah, no, fair question, fair play. The Marvel side of it is also a part of it and also concerning, right? Like, just is, man. Just is. No way around it. I want to try something here. Does that become too dark if I do that? I actually think, is that too dark now? Did I fuck it all up? Finto says, haven't been here in a minute. What happened to your setup? You move? Much love, bro. Take my money. No Avengers for life. Unity, baby. So it might be a little too dark, huh? Let me get this back on here. I shouldn't do this in the middle of a segment, but we'll do that. That works right there. Yeah, so basically what happened is the fucking office is unbearably cold. We still have stupid winter storms. It's a little bit warmer today, actually, but I'm going to give it at least one more week before I go back into the office. I'm hoping that the weather just starts turning around. And I'll also take this opportunity to like clean out the office, do a deep clean, maybe reorganize in there a bit as well. But yeah, that's why we're in the new setup. Chris Listenfeld says, my month, 64 months, in fact, my God. Happy to be here with the best part-time streamer in the tubes. Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Much love. Hashtag rigged. Spin again. No Avengers for life. Appreciate you, man. Thank you. Your chair looks way less comfortable. It is way less comfortable. It's kind of nice, though. I like these chairs. I like the setup we have in the dining room. Like, they look really nice. But, yeah, a little less comfortable. That's for sure. So we'll do shorter streams for the next week or two, because it's a little less comfortable. You guys understand. It seems like you understand. VTJB Productions, appreciate you with the 10, brother, says Netflix will soon start to produce, sell, and install affordable at-home theaters for the public. They'll charge a yearly subscription and maintenance fees. I've seen this joke, I've seen this meme before, but I mean, dude, I don't know. The way things are going, you know, there's one of my favorite memes on the internet right now is it's the Pirates of the Caribbean guy, and he's like leaning in and he's like, "You best get used to techno-feudalistic futures, lad, because you're in one," you know? Because it seems like we kind of are. It seems like we're in a techno-feudal, post-apocalyptic type of a world. Are you in the Carolinas, Josh? I heard it's bad there. No, but I was born in North Carolina. But no, I'm not in the Carolinas, man. Barbosa, I think that's the one. Yeah. So is there anything we should more to say about this James Gunn stuff, man? Can you do monthly payments to lease a PC now? Really? That's interesting. Lease a PC. Wow, interesting. I'm currently in NC. Why not go with the Can't Be a Snyder idea? Buy AMC, who's struggling, and repackage theaters' big N Netflix logo. Why go home to home? Guys, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, it technically makes sense from the perspective of if you just want to save the theatrical experience. But if you're like a publicly traded company, especially one like Netflix, I mean, why do you think Netflix has the money to buy a fucking Hollywood studio? Like, let's just look at what's going on. The truth of the matter is, one industry is dying, one industry is thriving. You know what I mean? Like, why would Netflix buy a bunch of retail spaces to you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense, guys. Like, they have zero incentive to do that. You know? I don't know. I think Hollywood and theatrical is kind of cooked, but at the same time, I've thought that for a while, and I have been surprised, I guess, at how even some of these movies in Hollywood in general has seemingly been able to rebound a bit. Yeah, I guess we'll just see. Nice setup, my guy. Are you serious? Why do you guys love this setup, man? Fuck this setup. Setup sucks ass. What are you guys talking about? Fuck that. I spent all this time getting the studio set up. I come out here and throw some random shit up on the walls and everybody loves it. Fuck out of here. Impossible. Impossible. Setup is a nice change of pace. Okay, cool. It does look good though. Okay, cool. Warhammer Studios sucks. Am I right? What? We can see you better. I'm here. What the fuck, dude? Shit setup, Josh. That's what I'm talking about, my man. Okay, that's good enough on that subject. Hollywood's totally fucked. James Gunn, foot in mouth. Beautiful world, beautiful world. Okay. All right. Okay. So, shall we talk about a little bit about Disney? Disney. Yo, real quick, chat, before we get into this fucking segment here about Disney, like, what are you guys, like, let me just pull something. I need to look at the chat. I need to look at the chat here. How are you guys feeling towards Disney? Like, what's the vibes out there, man? Like, how you guys feeling about Disney? Oh, Disney. Let's see here. Fuck Disney. Disney W. Indifferent. I hate it. I don't like Disney. D. Amaro is the future. Iger needs to retire. Losing faith in the world, in the whole company. Okay, interesting. Frack him. Disney in the files or something. Jesus. They destroyed my childhood. Luke Skywalker was number one. Damn. Unnecessary evil, says Kendall. Damn, Kendall. New CEO is against AI, so W. Yeah, he did make that statement. I saw some people like that. Let me see if I can. I want to pull up the picture. If I can find it, the reveal. I guess we don't have to do all that. I was gonna be all mean. What the fuck? He's in the hospital? Chan Tatum's in the hospital? Somebody make sure he's okay. Okay. Man, I really want to find... Oh, here it is. Okay, I found the picture. I found the perfect picture. All right, before we get into this, let me just look at chat again. Like, what are you guys thinking about Disney, man? Disney's such an interesting one. I really don't like them. Really don't like the company. But, like, not just, like, beyond, like, all the shady stuff they've done and how they fucked up my favorite franchises and all this stupid shit. But, like, I just don't even like, I don't like Mickey Mouse. I've never been into that shit. Like, I've never been into the Mickey Mouse stuff. I mean, I guess I liked some of the animated Disney movies when I was a kid. I think actually Aladdin might be one of the first movies I ever saw in theaters. And then when I went to art school, so I studied under a guy that worked at Disney Animation, like back when it had the 12 Men and actually had all those incredible hand animators, and they all worked like with Walt and shit like that. So I've been around like the culture and people that respect Disney and all this sort of stuff. For me, I just never really did. I don't know. I just never ever had a strong connection to Disney. I never like appreciated the brand of Disney. Disney just became the company that controlled the IP that I love, you know? So all the way back to like 2013, 2014, when the Star Wars thing is going, before that with Marvel and all that sort of stuff, they just like, it's funny because, you know, they got Marvel to get male fans. A lot of people forget this. You know what? We're doing a lot of yapping here. Maybe I should start the segment here, because I got a lot of fucking yapping to do about Disney. I was just thinking about this. We're going to talk about Disney, the new CEO, all this sort of stuff. But I think this is kind of funny. You know, back in 2006, 2007, no, it had to be before that. I don't remember exactly when Disney was considering buying Marvel. Maybe it was around 2008, 2009, 2010, when they're looking to buy Marvel. There was a lot of speculation at the time by just people in the media, people in the finance space, that this was being done so that Disney could court a male audience. Most of what was going on with Disney was female stuff. You know, a lot of kids stuff. The kids liked the Disney pipeline, but females really liked it. You know, they were really big with females. The parks, the merchandising, Disney princesses, all that sort of stuff. So the Marvel purchases made to give them access to more male fans. And I was just thinking about this. So ironic. They got me with that. Like, it literally worked. I just was explaining to you guys, I don't care about Disney. Like, never really liked Mickey Mouse, never was into that shit, you know. I don't know. I just never was like a Disney person. But Marvel and the purchasing of Marvel and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I became a Disney person through Marvel. So it like actually worked in a sense. But years later, and I mean years and years and years later, I find myself absolutely fucking despising Disney, still liking Marvel, still liking Star Wars insofar as like I like the idea of Star Wars and maybe a little hopeful of what Dave will do. But generally speaking, I actually hate Disney more than ever. I used to sort of be just whatever about Disney. I didn't really have a strong opinion, but I was never really into them. Now I fucking hate Disney because of what they did to the shit that I love. So like, it's weird. Like in some ways it worked, but in other ways it actually made me mad, like so mad, dude. I really don't like this company. Anyway, point is, crazy news out there in the world. We've been wondering for a long time who's going to replace Bob Iger, and we have our answer. And it's this guy. Okay, it's not her. It's not her. She's in the photo, though, which is weird. I don't I truly don't understand exactly why she's in the photo. I think it's like they wanted to be inclusive and present some kind. I don't understand. I don't get it. But I saw this photo, and I'm just gonna be real with you. I know very little about Josh, other than he has a damn good name. You know what I mean? A damn good name. I have no idea who this lady is whatsoever, right? But I saw this photo, and I had the take of like, this photo strikes me as that distant aunt and uncle that has missed like 6 family Christmases in a row. You haven't like talked to them in a long, long time, and they send you a postcard or a family Christmas card, and you look at it and you instantly are like, they're exactly the same as they always were. Nothing has changed. They are exactly who they are, and it is a bad thing. That's the impression that I got from this photo, and it just strikes me as just more of the same. And I also would say too, and I'm not even going to read this fucking statement. Let's be real. Let's be real. Bob Iger was considered this incredible CEO. I think the truth of that is a little less clear these days. You know, it's funny. We all read the fucking book he wrote about his own shit, and we were like, that's pretty impressive, you know? And it's funny because now we're getting more details, and we're like, I don't know, he might have fibbed a little bit here and there. Anyway, the point is, even with all the baggage, even with Disney Plus being his brainchild, and it's the stupidest, worst thing ever, Bob Iger is still considered an incredible CEO. He had a long run. He bought up companies that are still valuable to the Disney brand to this day, and, you know, made Disney Plus, and, you know, your mileage may vary on how you feel about that. The story for years, and this is literally since the dude stepped down and had a replacement and then had to come back because the replacement fucked everything up, everybody hated him, and the world was falling down, there was no good choice for this. There was no obvious choice. There was no, like, that's the guy, that's the gal. Nothing like that. So this pick to me feels like an internal hire, somebody that understands the culture of Disney, which means that he understands the current culture of Disney, which ultimately means that there's probably going to be very little change. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? So the pick really feels like more of the same. I did see this. I thought this was kind of funny. This just another thing going down in this year, 2026. Contributions. Can't believe they use this word. New Disney CEO Josh D'Amaro's previous contributions to Star Wars include leading the development of Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland and Disney World, overseeing the Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel, championing new technologies, including the retractable, realistic lifesaver. They didn't even spell lightsaber right. This is so fucking depressing. Also, does nobody know what the word contributions mean? That's a good thing. You contributed. Like, the only thing this dude contributed to was, like, some of the worst shit ever. Maybe some of the worst investments ever made by Disney with one of their IPs. Galaxy's Edge, aren't they literally fucking changing that shit? They're literally tearing that shit up, putting Vader and Luke Skywalker in. They're like, we give up. I guess we'll just put Vader and Luke Skywalker in it, you know? The Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel. Does anything need to be said about the Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel? And then, you know what I want to know? You know what I want to know the truth of? Can we get somebody under oath to fucking ask this question? How much money was spent on the retractable, realistic lightsaber that you're not even allowed to fucking hold? How much money was spent? How much time, energy, and resources were spent? How many times did this guy give a horror movie shady villain pretending to not be a villain type of smile in stupid ass meetings while the numbers continued to pour in and they spent oodles of money, time, energy, and resources of Imagineers on the stupid ass retractable realistic lightsaber and the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser bullshit prison? Can we get somebody under oath to talk about that? So this is not very inspiring stuff. This doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. This doesn't make you super pumped up. Now, look, here's what I'll say about this. Disney finds itself in an interesting position. I think Disney is so stupid. I don't think they have any idea how bad things are. I don't think they have any idea how out of touch they are. And I think from their perspective, they're just going to bring in a guy that understands that Disney's been crushing it. And just keep that going and keep that energy, baby. You know, Disney's going to be just fine. And I also think with Filoni being promoted, you know, there was an article in Deadline talking about how Kevin Feige will not be stepping down after Secret Wars, and he's going to stick around and launch the X-Men universe and all that, right? So he's got a veteran in Kevin. Kevin's not going to go anywhere. Lean on Kevin for sure. You know, new guy, new CEO, veteran president, greatest producer of all time. I expect Kevin to get a lot of what Kevin wants. Dave is an interesting one. You know, the Dave situation is interesting. You would say, I guess it just kind of depends on the perspective of Dave within the company. But if you're a guy that doesn't really know too much about Star Wars and you fucked it all up with your stupid hotel idea and your stupid lightsaber idea, maybe you lean on the veteran guy that studied under George Lucas that has been there for 30 some years. If Josh is smart, he will probably just let those people do their thing, and he will work on his strengths and revitalizing the park and maybe updating it with technology and all that sort of stuff. There is strength left in how Disney can use its IP. And frankly, I do think how theatrical fits into that is less important than ever. So just let them cook, you know, let them cook and do their thing and potentially just put resources elsewhere. And maybe Disney overcomes this. I don't have a lot of hope for it. I think this moment demands somewhat of a visionary. And I think, especially because Disney's problem specifically to me has mostly been in how far out of touch they are from what audiences actually want and engage with. I mean, they're about to roll out Sora AI on Disney Plus in videos, which I like. Part of me actually thinks like that part of that could be cool, but it's all this just controlled AI slop, social media wannabe thing just to drive engagement. It just feels so meaningless. Does Josh have any strong vision for how that technology should be used? Or is it all just, we have this massive partnership with Sora, so we got to figure something out? You know, I don't know. I think just more of the same, frankly, is what it looks like to me. Not very inspiring. But at a time when Star Wars and Marvel are turning things around, or at least attempting to on their own, maybe the more hands-off guy and the guy that's not really going to rock the boat is the move for that moment. So you could maybe get a little bit optimistic about that. Guys, what do you think about this pick, man? I mean, this company, for better or worse, and I think for worse, this company fucking controls some of our favorite shit, man. I would even hazard a guess that Diamaro had something to do with Galaxy's Edge update, to be honest. If that's true, they should push that out. You know, people should know that. I think that would be great. Yeah, I mean, I honestly have not even seen a lot of other people with strong takes one way or the other on this. Is there anybody out there that has a strong take on what this guy is doing, why he's a great pick or why he's the worst? I don't really understand. Brother, it's Disney. They're never going to change. I don't agree with that. I mean, Bob acquiring the IP was a change. You know, that wasn't an Eisner thing. That wasn't a Disney thing. They didn't do that. That was Bob Iger reading the landscape, making choices that had not happened before, and consolidating and acquiring brands that he thought worked within the Disney umbrella. That's massive. That's a huge change. So Disney does change. I think they've gotten very stagnant. In some ways, it's similar to Apple. Apple used to be like so innovative and they were on the edge of everything. They've kind of gotten fat and lazy in a lot of ways. They don't innovate as much. They just rely on the network effect. They rely on the sort of closed gate ecosystem that they have. And I don't see a lot of innovation on Apple's end. This happens. Companies go through cycles like this. Disney, though, and I think my main concern with Disney is that they don't fully appreciate where they are in that cycle. So therefore, they're not going to put people in there that actually want to make big changes, have big vision for what's coming. And so it really just will be sort of how Disney fares in the storm that is coming. It's like this little boat or this little part of a boat, like a life raft, and you're just like, can we survive? There's going to be storms, there's going to be waves, there's going to be sharks and all these different things. If we make it on the other side of that, it's just because we got lucky. That's what it feels like with Disney. I don't see anybody that's like, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, this is our areas of opportunity, this is what we think. Now, to be fair, it's just about an announcement right now. It's just about him getting the job. Maybe other things will come out. Maybe he has more ideas. Maybe there will be some big changes. Just doesn't feel like it. Just doesn't feel like it to me. Not right now. Apple leaning into Sanderson could spark him into something new. Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think that has a chance to really be a wake-up call for a lot of Hollywood. But I don't know. Apple has a lot of cash, man. Like, Apple can afford to experiment in that way. I wanted to be excited, but not anymore, Josh. Well, I mean, I don't know. I just don't think it's an exciting pick, man. You know, if the guy's from Parks, the guy's been at the company a long, long time, and I mean, he seems like a nice enough guy. I don't, you know, there's like a fakeness to him that feels almost, you know, par for the course with CEOs and, you know, whatever, right? I don't know. Maybe he's the perfect guy for Disney because maybe Disney needs to hold that identity and they just need to weather the storm of this weird moment and come out on the other side. And they're like, yeah, we're still Disney as we were in this day and age. That could be the play. I just don't think it will work, you know? But that's why he's getting paid bajillions of dollars. You know, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm in my goddamn kitchen, you know? He sounds the exact same resume as Chapek. He has a very similar resume to Chapek, yeah. What am I missing here? I don't know what you're missing, brother. Shareholders and people who enjoy the parks like this move. Theatrical shows, as always, secondary. Supposed to the rumor he's throwing a lot of money at that sector of the economy. Oh, interesting. Where is the stock price at? How did the stock react to it? How did the stock react? Okay, yeah, reacted positively overall, right? So we look at the 5-day. Yeah. Yeah. 2 hours ago, company thrives on technology and broke creative people. I mean, yeah, he's saying stuff that people on Wall Street like. So that's good. You know what I mean? No way around it. That's positive for the company. Will it end up being positive for us, the consumers? I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. Look, here's what I'll say. Last thing on this, and we'll move on to the juicy stuff. We'll move on to the good stuff, the Doomsday stuff. I'm not one of these guys that, like, wants Disney to be destroyed, sell off everything, and fail publicly because of all the bad things they've done. I'm not, like, a hater in that regard. I've just, like, never been that attached to Disney. I've never had, like, a strong connection to them and really cared about them. I am somewhat affected by just some of the shadiness of the company from over the years. There are some things there. That's not obviously the whole company. It's mostly like people at the top or people making bad decisions here and there. I just think, I guess what my main beef with Disney is that, like, Disney always used to be the company that just tried to act like they were morally superior and there was nothing, like, shady, like, don't look behind the curtain. And that used to, like, work. Like, dude, they lobbied to change copyright laws. They made it so that FBI warning would come out in front of movies. You know, they've pushed back public domain over and over again as far as their own characters entering the public domain. I mean, they've done plenty of shady things. Most corporations do shady things. My problem with Disney is that in the modern era, when it became more easy than ever to see their dirty laundry and to just see what was going on, they just, like, doubled down and just tried to act like everything was fine. And I just became irritated with that. You know what I mean? Like, that's really where a lot of the sticking point for me was. And then on top of that, I do think they just fucked up Marvel and Star Wars. Like, they made some really poor decisions with some of my favorite IP. But ultimately, like, I guess what I'm saying is if Disney turned it around, if they were doing better things, if the parks had cool shit, like, dude, the Imagineers are great. They're some of the best engineers on the planet. Really awesome ideas. There's been some stuff I've seen the Imagineers, like the tiles and the thing. I'm like, wow, it's so cool what they could do with robots and animatronics. If they create novel experiences that are fucking awesome with IP that I like, why wouldn't I enjoy it? But it feels like Disney is just trying to gaslight us into thinking that they're still what they were. They're still as relevant just because they're Disney, and they're not actually putting in enough value into the systems, into the economy. Basically, they're not actually using their vast amount of resources and their huge platform to innovate and create novel experiences for the consumer. I'm just, yeah, that's ultimately like fucking disappointing, and I wish they'd get away from the culture war stuff, away from the public's, you know, whatever political stuff. Just make incredible content, make incredible experiences, push the envelope, and then I would love you for that. But that's just me. All right, let's wrap that shit up. Let's get into some Doomsday stuff. You missed a super for real this time, not LOL, not mine. Oh, yeah, I probably missed a couple supers. Let me see. Why? Was there a delay? Did somebody snipe me? Brother, it's Disney. They're never going to change. I already went over that. Really? I really would not read into that tweet. Galaxy's Edge was already under construction when it came to Disneyland. Star Cruiser was already in development. Wait a minute. From where? He came to Disneyland and Star Cruiser was already in development. Where did he work before that? Chris, definitely send me some stuff on that. I thought he was always a part of Disney, and he came up in the parks. Did he come from some other company? Where did he come from before? Josh, this January had the biggest box office total since January 2020. Cinemas are back on the rise. Doomsday will skyrocket them. We're almost so back. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think that what you're talking about a lot is like inflation, and I don't think the raw business is back, man. I really don't think it's back. Yeah. He was in Disney for 27 years. So where did he come from when he came into parks? Where did he come from? Yeah, I mean, John, like, do you really think that the box office is just coming back and that theatrical is fine? Like, do you really think that's happening? Because that's, I don't know how you come to that conclusion. You know? Like, production in Hollywood itself is down something like 30%. Why would that be happening if January had the biggest box office? You know what I'm saying? Like, the math ain't mathin', dog. You know what I mean? Looney Tunes greater than Disney. Looney Tunes is cool, man. Muppets is cool. Cartoon Network is cool. Do you think Garfield will get a third film, possibly live action Miles? What's the status of the Ruffalo's Hulk? Is he still hired? I have no idea about Garfield. I think he'll be back in Secret Wars. Live action Miles probably after the animated stuff from Sony. Is Mark Ruffalo Hulk still hired? I think so, yes. Mario pushed $60 billion investment into parks recently. I think that's a sign he will put money in to make quality. So, sure, investing in the parks, $60 billion, probably a good idea. If it happens and it's good, I'll give him credit for that. I just don't know, man. You know what I mean? Like, I can't just say like, oh, he decided to invest $60 billion into the parks. That means we're going to get quality. Like, sure, it means he's investing in that side of the company, which, again, I think is smart. I think parks is an opportunity, but you got to really, like, do some wild shit. Like, I think you really have to push that experience. How are you pushing that? How are you doing something that nobody else can do? Creating a truly novel experience that people want to go check out. I don't think you can lean on even the IPs as much. You know, otherwise, I don't think they'd be changing the Star Wars park up if they were creating enough novel experiences and people still cared about the IP, then nothing would be wrong. Like, you know what I mean? Let's see here. Did I miss any other questions? Netflix. All right, we already talked about that. Haven't been here in a while. We already talked about that. Okay, yeah, I think we're caught up on all the soupies. I think we're caught up on all the super chats. Should we get into some Doomsday shit, boys and girls? Is it time? Josh, have you seen Video Game Donkey's video on High Guard? It was incredible. It was cinema. It was absolute cinema. Need to have a real convo about Universal's come up. Yeah, Universal has done really well. They've done really well. And I think they're well positioned to continue to grow. Yeah. My name is Doom. All right. It's about damn time. Oh, what the fuck? Careful. I'll turn it into a Warhammer segment. I swear to God, I will. Universal is bidding for the rights to DC in their parks too. Interesting. Yeah, to get bought, exactly. I really hope Doomsday, Brand New Day, and Secret Wars revamps and gives Disney enough time to course correct, but I'm not holding my breath. Yeah, well, it could certainly give... Look, as long as Kevin's over there, I think Marvel, they could turn it around. They could change it. But it really is all dependent on Doomsday. All right, guys, let's get into this shit, man. This is exciting. So... Rossi ruins the segment right before I hit record with a $2 super chat. You missed my $5 super chat on the Fallout finale, and if you watched... Where's your $5 super chat? Let me see. What was this fucking $5? Let me find this shit. Hang on now. I got your Looney Tune one. Oh, here we go. Rossi, with a $5 super chat, says, if you watched Fallout, can you give me your thoughts on the Fallout finale at the end of the stream? At the end of the stream. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I guess I could just ignore you and go for the end of the stream. Look, here's what I'll say right before we get into the thing, because he already got me to think about it. So now I got to do it. Now I got to talk about it. I got to talk about the Fallout thing, and then we got to talk about the Doomsday thing. Okay? It's Rossi's fault. Real quick, guys. We'll make this quick. Did any of y'all watch the Fallout Season 2? How did you guys feel about Fallout Season 2? Because I am actually pretty interested in how y'all thought about it. I liked Fallout Season 2. I think it's actually really good and really clever. I gotta tell you, though, I think it's going in a direction that... How do I say this? Oh, the Geeky Cast. Thanks for the $1. Appreciate you. How do I say this without sounding like a grumpy old man? I miss your member chat too, Nuck Nuck. Oh my God. I think Fallout's just in a direction that doesn't line up with what a lot of people want out of that show. And I know, it's just like we keep having the same conversation. I feel like all of these people don't get what I'm saying every time I say this. Listen to me. I love that highbrow shit. I love it. I think the show's very sophisticated. Jonathan Nolan is fucking genius, dude. Are you kidding me? It's so layered. I pick things up. I've watched like almost every episode twice, and I pick up on new little things. It's so well crafted. It's so good, dude. It needs more smashing of the toys together. It needs more clear, male-coded fun. I'm sorry. It just does. It just does. I don't know how else to tell y'all. It is missing ingredients that I think people are desperate for. Like, it's really just not that complicated, guys. It's really not. And again, I think the show is fine. I think the show will be fine, by the way. I'm not writing its obituary or something shit. You know what I mean? Like, the show's fine. It did dip in viewership as compared to the first season. And I do think it's lost certain folks because it's not just as fun and novel as season 1 was. It's a little bit more complicated. It's taking itself very seriously in certain ways. Yeah, so that's my overall thoughts on Fallout. I really liked the show. And I think it'll be fine, and it'll probably end up getting some Emmy nods. Season got, and then they'll continue to cook. And hopefully it just continues to be a really, really good time. But yeah, that's my take. Like, the only thing I could tell you is that in a world, like, really, we really do live in a world where, like, anime is taken over. And I think you can look at some of the really popular shows, some of the really popular movies, and yeah, that's my take. Hop on High Guard. Did they shut the servers down yet? Is that shit still on? Hey, Josh, Dr. Doom is a girl in the film, and it's Pepper. Thanks a lot, Chad. Really appreciate you. Really, really cool. Frozen? What? The stream is frozen? The stream's frozen? I guess we'll just have to call it there then. Sorry, I guess it's all just gone. I think Amazon has done pretty good at making some Chad Dude Bro content. They have, yeah. They've done good at it. I think the show is just being a little too cute. All right, you ready? Please read my members chat. My God, Nuck, my God. Okay, let's see here. Nuck says, the dude and the chick in that picture look like Warhammer players. Disney-owned Warhammer confirmed 2027. Don't even say that shit. Don't even joke about that. That shit ain't funny. That shit ain't funny, dog. I'm frozen again? What is happening? What is happening with this buffoonery? All right, let's talk Doomsday. All right, so we got to talk about this Doomsday stuff. Look, this is super fun. It is pretty confusing. I think it's probably one of those situations where we just got to face facts. And it sucks ass to say. One of my least favorite things to say. One of the least favorite things to come out of my fucking mouth is John Campea was right. I fucking hate saying it. Fuck that shit. But John Campea was right. And I think he was right about a lot of the rumors and the leaks that we thought was reals and it was going down and happening was not reals and it was not going down and it was not happening. Oh my God. So what am I talking about? The latest shit, man, is crazy, guys. I'm talking about something we briefly went over Monday. When we talked about it on Monday, we were like, yo, there's starting to be some rumors that Steve Rogers is with Dr. Doom and the Fantastic Four on that ship when they come into 616, okay? And we were like, this is pretty wild. That could mean this. This could mean that. And we even said, like, I wonder if Loki or someone took Steve out of a timeline and put him in 838, or if Steve went to a timeline like the Fantastic Four one, where he couldn't, he didn't exist, so he wouldn't create a paradox, wouldn't create an incursion or whatever, right? Like, it's so weird that Steve would be on that ship, right? Well, we got even more clarification. Part of this came from My Time to Shine. Hello. Part of it came from John Campea. So basically, guys, like, if you follow the trajectory of this, I actually forget who said it first. Somebody said it. I think Daniel backed them up and was, it was Roka. Didn't Roka say it first? Like, Roka was like, I kind of heard maybe Steve was on the ship. And then Daniel backed him up. Somebody else backed him up. Then Shine let all this out, and then John spoke to it as well. So what we're going to do, let's read what Shine said. And then we'll watch the clip. We'll probably watch 5-10 minutes of the clip from the John Campea show and what John said about all of this stuff here. So here we go. Let's go. That's not right. Let's look at this. Steve Rogers' role in Avengers Doomsday after the events of Endgame, but before the end of Loki season 2. Loki finds Steve living with Peggy and their son but warns that the TVA will erase their timeline because Steve is not meant to be there. Loki secretly moves Steve and his family to the Fantastic Four universe 828 so that he can live safely. Years later, during Avengers Doomsday, Doctor Doom warns about the incursions and plans to travel to the main MCU to stop them. Reed Richards and Doctor Doom recruit Steve, and he agrees to return to help and save the multiverse. Now, that is a fucker of a leak, dude. That is pretty wild. Chat, let me just get your first, can I just get your first reactions to this? Let's do this. Let's see, first reactions to this, and then I'll give you some reactions to it. I'll talk about it a little bit. This is pretty wild, huh? Pretty wild? Pretty wild? My time to poop. Indeed. I like it. He is an old man in 616. Yeah, weird. Yeah, Steve Rogers babysitting Franklin. Fire. I'm so amped for Doomsday. Secret Wars, says Cool Bear. What up? It's pretty cool. Wait, bruh. When would that have happened? It doesn't make sense. Well, that is kind of a part of it, and I'm glad you asked that question because there's a lot of this that is seemingly pretty weird and maybe doesn't make a lot of sense. So let's begin getting into it all. Okay? So, after the events of Endgame, but before the end of Loki Season 2, Loki finds Steve living with Peggy and their son, but warns the TVA to erase their timeline because Steve is not meant to be there. Now, look, there's a couple of things we got to say here, okay? So, I just want to say that listening to Shine is kind of tricky because I do think she has access to info and sources. But she was also one of the main people pushing this idea that Steve started the incursions and Doom wants to get Steve to stop the incursions. She was the one pushing that. So it's hard to be like, okay, I think you were maybe wrong about that first part with Steve and Doom. So now it's hard for me to just say, well, you're probably getting all of this right. Okay. On top of that, Shine has gotten things wrong in the past because I think of the way she interprets info. Okay. So I've talked to her about things that she's gotten wrong in the past before, like privately and like DMs. And she always explains it like, I thought it meant this. And she like gets that wrong. Right. So there's a couple of things going on here that make me question even what she is saying. But the reason I think this is probably accurate, right, is because if we think about what is going on within the context of the leaking and scooping community, John Campea claims to have been told by somebody the entire story, the entire plot of Doomsday. And what he said was a lot of the info that was out there that he saw was wrong, talking about leaks and rumors. What that suggests is that there was a lot of misinformation that was put out, but now real information is starting to come out. So if real information is starting to come out, and like 5 different scoopers, because remember, it's Roka, then it's Daniel, then it's John, and then it's Shine, all of them, and even, Cryptic has sort of teased it as well. All of them in the past week and a half or 2 weeks have all come forward to speak about the Steve Rogers element in this movie. That's really what it comes down to. It is about the ship, and it's about Doom, and it's about the Fantastic Four, and it's about Steve being there, but it's really about Steve being there. That's the whole thing. Why is Steve there? And why is Steve so important in this movie? And what's going on with Steve in this film? Okay. So when 5 to 6 different scoopers, and I think there were even other ones too that were like teasing it, or when everybody in the space starts to hear one thing, and it's on the heels of John saying, I know the whole plot, from my perspective, that just means, oh shit, real info is starting to come out there. So let's try to assess the real info, keep everything I just said in mind, understand that Shine has been wrong before. Maybe she's getting parts of this a little bit wrong. Maybe she's getting parts of this completely wrong. It's possible she's getting this 100% accurate. One thing that we tend to believe, Steve is on that ship, man. That seems to be the most corroborated element out of the whole thing. Steve is on the ship with the Fantastic Four and with Doctor Doom. Okay? Not Thor. So not Thor. I don't know, man. Look, I got told that maybe Thor was on that ship too. That would be an additional monkey wrench. If Thor is on the ship, then we're going to have to go through this whole thing again where we're like, wait a minute, what the fuck's going on with Thor? What about what was said over here about Thor? What the hell is all this, that, second, and third? Let's just cross that bridge when we come to it, okay? Is it possible Thor is on that ship? Yes. What does that mean? We're going to have to go through a whole fucking thing to figure out what that means, okay? I don't know if Thor is on the ship. For now, what everybody's talking about is Steve. So let's just talk about Steve. We will talk about Thor later. Although, we'll talk about Thor later, okay? We'll talk about Thor later. Listen, Linda. So Steve's on the ship. Well, I think the main question that we had was, does that mean that Doom, Steve, the Fantastic Four, getting on that ship, coming into 616, does that happen further along in the timeline than we thought? Because we had assumed that Steve was this thing that Doom was trying to get to, right? I mean, just think about it like this. Like, I don't know that anybody has come out clean to say that this shit is not what we thought it was, but I'm basically telling you guys, I'm pretty sure that what we thought was going on was not going on. Again, Shine and some others were really pushing that the whole idea was Doom needed to get to Steve. In fact, Doom wanted to kill Steve because Steve started the incursion, which killed Doom's family. Okay? That report was out there. That report, at the very least, is not what we thought it was, and maybe complete bullshit. But probably more not what we thought it was. Okay? So then it's, does Steve come to 828, the Fantastic Four universe? Does he come to 828 because they go find him on 616, or they go find him in some universe, and then they bring him into 828 to help them gain the trust of the 616 Avengers, right? That is a possibility. What Shine is now saying, and what seems to be the best info that we now have about it, is that Steve was taken from 616 and he's brought to 828. Okay? And Loki's the one that brings him here. Now, let's talk about some other leaks that are out there. And again, whenever we're talking about leaks, and we're just doing the best we can, we're trying to have fun, you know? It's internet detective shit. It's nerd venging. At the end of the day, we could be wrong about a lot of stuff. We could be right about a lot of stuff. We're all going to go see this movie. We're going to speculate about all the rumors. We're going to have a lot of fun, okay? But let's talk about a couple other rumors that were out there. When they were shooting in the estate, right? This is the big fancy estate where they, you know, Windsor Park or whatever. They shot the 60s house that is the same house from the Cap trailer we just watched a couple of weeks back, right? That yellow house, 50s, 60s vibe. That house, we know they built that set and they filmed it at the Windsor estate. And we've seen the blueprints. It was Luke Cage's house. Remember, they had a code name for Cap on set, Luke Cage, right? Well, surrounding that scene, there was one report that a scene there would take place with Peggy and Steve, and RDJ's Dr. Doom was there. There was another report that Peggy and Steve were there, and Loki was there. Okay? So technically, this could all make sense, and here's how. So they have their shooting schedule. It's a super secretive part of the movie. They're on the Windsor estate. they're working with like a skeleton crew, as little people as possible, so that there's no spoilers. And they film a full day. Well, part of that day is filming the scene where Steve, his kid, and Peggy are met by Loki, where Loki comes in there and says the TVA will destroy your universe or destroy your timeline because Steve is not meant to be there. So we have to move you to 828. Okay? So part of the day is shooting that scene, and I guess we'd have to just see what that scene would be like, which I don't actually think that's what it is. But we'll keep going here, because in order to get to where I think this is going, we have to go through all these steps. We have to go through these logical steps. So half the day is shot with Loki and Peggy and Steve. The other half of the day is shot with Loki, or without Loki, and it's Peggy and Steve and Doom. That scene is shot at the same location, except that's a house on a different universe. So one of those scenes is Steve, as we saw him in the trailer, with no beard, no long hair, and he has his kid. The Steve that we're about to meet in 838 is likely Steve with long hair, a beard, kids aged up. They're on 828, and then Doom rolls up. Okay? So let's just stop there for a second. Any questions, any thoughts, any comments before we go any further? Like, what do you guys make of that? Because part of this that's kind of annoying is the timing. It's after Endgame, but before Loki season 2. Or rather, before the end of Loki season 2. So if it's the end of Loki season 2, universes are being destroyed and everything. Remember when Loki was just traveling through time, trying to figure out a way to save everything? So in order for this to make sense, Loki would have to be going through all of that and then just witness this one timeline where Steve Rogers that he knew from 616 was at, okay? And then he would have to be like, I really want to save Steve in this timeline, even though everything else is a fucking calamity. The entire multiverse is being destroyed. He moves one character into a separate timeline to save him from a TVA that he's already overthrown Kang from and is actively trying to reform and fix. So that doesn't make any sense, dude. Like, straight up, that doesn't make any sense at all. And that's actually not what I think is going on. Okay? But what do you guys think? Is there any questions? What do you think about that? You know, is there a way it could work in your mind? Like, what do you think? OMGC89 says, you've said before you think Endgame Tony might have already lived through the Secret Wars. You think Old Man Rogers has too? Yeah, it's possible. I trust the Russos, they got this. Well, that's fine, and you can say that for sure. But what I'm asking is, what do you guys think about the fact that, like, the timing of this doesn't really make sense? And the motivation from Loki would be so, like, how does the motivation from Loki make sense in this scenario? Doctor Strange moving Steve makes more sense. Doctor Strange moving Steve makes more sense. Maybe, yeah. But I don't think that's what it is either. Don't miss my super. Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. Steve wouldn't trust Loki one bit. It would be very hard to imagine Steve trusting Loki. Yeah, Josh missed my super. Shreddy, you ain't putting no super in there, dog. You're fucking broke, bro. You know what I mean? Like, you broke. You broke, dog. We love you, Shreddy. But you're broke, brother. Steve is likely to believe Loki if Loki is honest. Why would Steve even think Loki would be honest, though? Two Steves? Maybe. Okay, that's the first issue with this. I'll come back around to this and explain what I think is going on, okay? But let's just go through what's being told here. So after the events of Endgame, but before Loki Season 2, Loki finds Steve living with Peggy Carter and their son, but warns that the TVA will erase their timeline because Steve is not meant to be there. Loki secretly moves Steve and his family to the Fantastic Four's Universe 828 so they can live safely. Years later, during Avengers Doomsday, Doctor Doom warns about the incursions and plans to travel to the main MCU to stop them. Reed Richards and Doctor Doom recruit Steve, and he agrees to return and help save the multiverse. So my first question to her would be like, well, what about the stuff with him wanting to get Steve? All the shit you told me about why Doom wants to just get Steve and get Steve Rogers. Like, what is up with that? That doesn't make any fucking sense, dude. That cannot be true, right? Right? Unless this Doom comes from a universe that actually was destroyed because of an incursion that happened with Steve Rogers. And this Doctor Doom would actually use that fact to guilt trip Steve Rogers into helping him, joining him, and trying to save the rest of the multiverse. I mean, that could be part of it. That could be part of it. And if you're Steve, okay? If you're Steve and you've done this thing and this really bad thing happened, didn't you already go through something like that? Didn't you already use time travel to undo one of your failures? So what's the difference to you from doing a crazy time heist mission to save a timeline and stop something that happened in the past, and doing a crazy multiversal time heist jumping bullshit thing in order to stop and reverse something that you had done that caused the destruction of everything that's going on, right? It's not that far off. It's like if Doom showed up to Steve and said, hey man, you fucking destroyed my planet, the whole multiverse is ending, we need your help, and you better help us, because if you don't, everything will be destroyed. But if you do help us, I can set things right. I can set things right. Then I still think Steve might be willing to try that and willing to do that, right? So that's like one way that could work together here. But it is wild. Years later in Avengers Doomsday, Doctor Doom warns about the incursions and plans to travel to the MCU to stop them. Reed Richards and Doctor Doom recruit Steve, and he agrees to help and save the multiverse. Dude, this is fucking wild. This is fucking wild. This recontextualizes like everything we thought was going on with this movie. So look, I'll just tell you what I think is happening, man. I think this is not it. I do not think this is it. I don't think it makes any sense for Loki to want to save Steve other than if he is playing the Avengers Forever, Avenger Prime type of a game. Meaning, the only reason Steve is moved is so that Steve can then do something later on down the road and maybe join the multiversal Avengers or stand up against Doom. Now, I keep coming back to this whole idea of like Doom versus Cap. Okay? You know, again, a lot of scoopers, a lot of insiders, a lot of people said it's kind of like Doom versus Cap. And that still doesn't even seem possible with what we're looking at right here, right? But I'm reminded of in Avengers 1, when Cap and Loki have their first big interaction. Remember the speech and, Loki's like telling him to kneel and Cap's like, not today. And then does the spinning thing and like kicks him or whatever. You can see within just that scene that Steve is a guy that will never bend the knee. He'll never give up. He'll never just let tyrants do their thing. And characters like Loki at the time, and probably Doom in a lot of ways, are ones that are tyrannical. They want people to bend the knee. They want to break people. And they hate people like Cap that will never give in to despair and will always stand up. No matter what happens, Cap will always stand up and fight against an oppressive force. That's who he is. And I can't help but think that an element of that is why Loki moves him. And I wonder if it's a part of the calculus behind why Doom wants to use him as well. I just feel like there has to be something more going on. Like, frankly, dude, if it really is just this, then this is like terrible writing. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, why would Loki go save Steve because the TVA was going to erase their timeline? That is such a fucking ridiculous thing to try to like wedge into this story, considering where the timeline is off. Do you know what I mean? Like, it makes no sense. Oh, we're going to save this one guy. You're not even pruning timelines anymore. After Loki season 1, they stopped pruning. That's what Deadpool and Wolverine is about. Like, what are they afraid? Nobody is destroying universes. I guess that's after the Loki stops it, but even before then, they're not pruning. That's the whole problem. That's why the loom gets overrun, because they're not pruning. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, man. There's got to be something more to it. There has to be something we're missing. There has to be another reason that this is going on. Now, with all of that being said, we just talked a lot about like Shine and her leaks and all of this sort of stuff, which, by the way, again, I think she's right in a sense. Some of this has to be right. She's either missing something, or she's lying on purpose, or she's misinterpreting something. But this is probably, like, parts of this are accurate. There just has to be more to it, right? And then let's look at this. So this is from the John Campea show, and this is John talking about these new rumors on his show.
This right off the bat, I'm going to have Jonathan put up the old spoiler warning. Just for in case. Now, you guys know that some time ago, we were talking about Avengers Doomsday, and the fact that
we've done that.
Yeah, that a couple of us in this room know almost everything that happens in the movie. And I also said a couple of weeks ago that, listen, I've been getting contacted by more and more people who seem to now know what's going on. And I said on the show, I think by July, everything's going to be out there, because all these people are finding things out. Now, there's a lot of stuff being reported out there that is totally wrong. Some stuff being reported that is right. But, you know, Rob and I were talking before the show started today. That pace of the leaking has turned into a gush. And I said to Rob this morning, I said, remember how I said I think everything's going to be out there by the end of July? I said, I honestly now think everything's going to be out there by the end of March. Yeah. I really do.
Yeah. Well, now because you've got all the effects houses working on things.
Yeah. There's just so many now points of release. And I got to admit,
like, part of what he's saying is kind of what I was saying earlier, where it's all just flooding out. And when you have, like, again, Roca, Daniel, Shine, Cryptic, and then ultimately John himself all talking about a thing, and then there's Gary talking about stuff, it's like, yeah, no, it's all starting to come out. And I think the timing of it all kind of makes sense. Frankly, they were probably putting out a lot of misinfo. And while they were like cooking the actual thing, like a lot of misinfo just kept coming out. But now that they're like doing an assembly cut, finalized effects, they're doing reshoots, it's like, oh, the picture of what it is actually starting to come out, right?
And Rob, I texted you a little bit about this earlier this morning. It brings up a philosophical quandary.
Yeah.
Which is, look, if I didn't know what was happening in Doomsday, then I would be picking up on all these topics out there, rumors and reports, and we would be talking about them. Just like all the other outlets now are talking about them.
Yep.
But I felt awkward about talking about them because we do know what happens.
Yep.
You know, I've had some people say, you know, I hate it when you rub it into us so you know what happens. We don't do that. We bring up we know what happens when people ask questions about Doomsday, because we need to be transparent and full disclosure so that there's no we're not deceiving, and we're being above board to make sure you guys know exactly from what position we're speaking of. It's just to have transparency. It's not to rub anything in. We don't bring it up until people ask about Doomsday, and then we say, okay, well, just, you know, of course, we do know what happens in Doomsday, That's for being full disclosure. So I've struggled a lot. I know Rob's has too. We've struggled with when is it okay to talk about something and when is it not?
Rob's face
considering everybody else.
We've both struggled. And Rob's like, yeah, man, fucking tough out here.
else out there seems to be talking. Now, when it comes to this new particular thing, there's a report going around about at the end of Thunderbolts, when they look up at the screen and they see the Fantastic Four ship.
Yeah, tell us, John.
That there are 2 other characters on that ship other than the Fantastic Four.
No.
Oh, yeah. And it's not just guys like Daniel RPK who have now put it out.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of the show, Jeff Snyder, has put it out.
Mm.
You look around at things like this. Superhero Hype has headlines on it. Comic book movies now have headlines on it.
Yeah.
On and on and on. I found a whole ton of major outlets, not major outlets as in the Hollywood Reporter, but a lot of the big fan-based outlets.
Yeah.
We're all talking about it.
Yep.
And, you know, Rob, I was so conflicted about this. I even jumped on the YouTube channel this morning and I asked our readers, guys, listen, at what point when a piece of information about the movie is really now getting out there, is it okay for us to talk about? And I got a lot of great feedback and a lot of great input from our viewers. And this one is so out there now everywhere.
Yeah.
That I figured this is an instance when we can kind of chime in a little bit.
I think that's probably a good model. I've been in situations like this before. I usually just lie about what I know or what I don't know. And more often than not, I'll just not say things or I'll be like, yeah, that's interesting. But I get where he's coming from. I certainly don't have the same access, at least the way that he's presenting it. Like, I do wonder a little bit, is even John wrong? You know what I mean? Like, because John's like pretty confident and you'd like to believe that he has access to some people that actually know. And it seems like a lot of what he's saying does line up with like the more things come out. I would probably just say, and look, I'm not, John can do what he wants, right? But like, if I were him, I would just say, I would take the stance of like, you've heard this thing and you think it's true more than just knowing like, I know for sure what's in this movie. Because what that allows you to do is come out with a story like that and be like, hey, this lines up with what I've heard. Let's have a conversation about it, which is less so I'm going to confirm this. Like, does that make sense? But maybe John's already kind of positioned himself where he can't really have that out anymore. But I would say, like, dude, yeah, you're absolutely right. And this is probably what his audience told him. As this stuff comes out, yeah, it's fine. You can talk about it. Pretty much everybody agrees that it's coming, that it's a thing. Say what you can about it. Confirm what you can. Speculate. Have fun.
And say this. So, with the spoiler warning up there that Jonathan has,
I can't believe he's about to spoil this shit.
the rumor and the report going around, that is on all these outlets, Daniel RPK, Jeff Snyder, all these guys are putting this out there. The rumor is that on this Fantastic Four ship that we see at the end of Thunderbolts coming to Earth, that along with the Fantastic Four on that ship are 2 other individuals. Those individuals, so to say all the reports, are Steve Rogers and Dr. Doom.
Yes.
That's cool.
That's the report.
It's pretty cool.
So, at this point, yeah, it is. Everybody, it's out there. Everybody's talking about it. It's now public. So at this point, I'll just say, yeah, it is. Now, there's a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah, this part's interesting.
Don't be misled into thinking that because this one's real and all the outlets are carrying it, that means everything you've read online is real. Oh, it's not. There's still a lot of nonsense floating around out there. And I'll also say this.
It's fair.
Even within the reports about Steve Rogers and Doom being on the ship, there's a bunch of other things about how they're on the ship and why they're on their ship. Totally wrong. At least some of them about why Steve and Doom are on that ship and how they came about to be on that ship. there's some stuff out there that is totally off base.
I wonder
I
wonder what he's even talking about when he says that, because the thing is, Shine's new report on this does not happen until like yesterday. So he did not, I don't think he's referring to what she said. What even was, like, what is he talking about here in this part? Like, is he saying that there was something out there about why they're on the ship together? But to my knowledge, it was novel that Cap was on the ship in general because of all the stuff that was out there. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, it was because the story broke what we thought was the plot of Doom trying to seek Cap. That's what made it so shocking. So I'm not sure what John is even referring to there, where he's like, a lot of what is out there about why they're, maybe he's just saying all the stuff about Cap being the one that caused the incursions and killed Doom's family and all that sort of stuff, all of that being wrong is why that's not real. That's not why they're together. Like, maybe that's what he's saying, but I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing to say there.
Say that, but as everybody else is reporting, yes, they're there. Now, again, I want to reemphasize, there is a lot of other stuff being reported out there about things that are happening in Doomsday that are just not true.
Do you know what this is the other thing that doesn't, just tell us what's not true then. Why is that such a big deal? Tell us what you're referring to when you say there's stuff out there that's not true. You talk about informing the audience, wanting to be clear to the audience. We got to be transparent. Then just fucking say that. Why won't you at least say that? That part doesn't make any sense either, John.
At all. And I think over the next few weeks, because I was telling Rob, I got contacted last night by somebody who said, "Hey, John, is it true that blank, blank, blank?" And I was like, there's no way anybody else, like, that's a major thing that happens in Doomsday. Now even that's getting out. I stand by it. I think by the end of March, everything about this movie is going to be out there. And you know what? It doesn't matter. I know everything that happens in Doomsday, and I can't wait to see this movie. Like, it just made me more excited. So that might happen with everybody else as well. So anyway, there it is. It's out there. Rob, I think this is it's about more than just the story about certain details now coming out about Doomsday.
All right, I think that's probably enough on that, but it is interesting nonetheless, right? I mean, you're getting a lot of folks that are confirming that story. As we just spoke to, Shine kind of came out and gave a more thorough explanation of it. That explanation does not make a lot of sense to me. There's actually a lot of, like, if you start to put these rumors together, like, it's weird, and some of it doesn't work together. And listen, at the end of the day, if the Jean Grey thing is correct, which is, it feels probably like out of left field for me to say that, but like, if Sadie Sink is Jean Grey, then what that means is that a whole bunch of really accurate, really reliable people were fooled by Marvel. And if there's no Cap versus Doom thing, if it's not that Doom, his family was destroyed and Cap did it and he's after Cap, if like a lot of that early leakage stuff was just not true, then the Russos really did it, man. The Russos really did it. They put out a lot of misinfo. They got some of the most reliable people to go off script. I think some of the big moments and some of the big things are probably still in the movie. There's a lot that we more or less know about the movie, but motivations, things like this, I think a lot of that's still in question. There's probably a lot that we don't fully understand about how this all works together. So anyway, we'll hang in chat for a little bit and talk about it, but this has already been a 36-minute segment, so we'll stop the recording. But chat, what do you think of all of this, man? What do you think of this? If Steve can lift Mjolnir, he wouldn't be so dense as to not be convinced by a truly earnest Loki. That would simply be bad screenplay. Well, I got to tell you, one way that Loki could probably convince Steve would be to lift Mjolnir. So Loki shows up. Steve's like, hell nah, and he's ready to fight him and all that sort of stuff. Loki's just trying to tell him, like, hey, I'm here to help. I'm actually not being villainous. I'm not doing all that. And then maybe he throws Mjolnir and Loki lifts it. And he sort of shows Steve like, hey, I can't be that bad. I'm worthy to pick up Mjolnir. And maybe that's how they sort of get off on the right foot and start that conversation. Kind of an interesting idea. Steve will be on the ship with Doom, and they will all meet in Wakanda, the Necropolis, to discuss the incursions. Maybe the TV takes Steve later into the film. Oh, the TVA. Yeah, there could be something like that going on. Yeah. What do you think, chat? Chat! What does you guys think? Maybe Loki is lying to Steve so he won't reveal that Cap staying destroyed universes. Doom is looking for Steve to tell him the truth. Loki knows Doom would kill Steve if he found him. Well, then how does Doom end up with Steve Rogers on the ship going into 616? So you're telling me Doom wants to kill this motherfucker, but he's just going to chill with them so that they could go get the homies together in 616? Like, doesn't that seem odd AF? Dr. Doom says no trailers this month, but hey, I'll wait. #Doom. Yeah. I think whenever we get the trailer, it'll be juicy, man. And look, we're already eating. We're being fed off of these rumors. We care so much about this movie. We're so engaged. We're so interested. We're trying to pick it apart that the rumors themselves are where it's all at. You know, it's part, like one of the things that John was speaking to when he was like, yeah, look, it created all this news. The leaks just get out there. The reason is because that's where the level of interest is at. That's where people's interest is at. That's what's actually guiding the conversation. I mean, that's why John's continuing to talk about it, because people are so interested, they keep bringing it up. And now he's become a point of confirming or denying. You know, since he went public and talked about these things, I mean, look, him going public talking about the intro is probably what led Gary to reveal the Toby stuff. And then there's all this other people trying to, like, they don't like Gary or whatever, so they want to just throw cold water on it all. But they're so vague about it that we begin to understand that, like, oh, they're not actually throwing cold water on the idea. They're just trying to besmirch Gary and not give him credit. It's all really interesting as more and more gets revealed. If you're just being an internet detective, it's fascinating. Like, this is a whole fascinating project, you know? Later in the video, if you watch Can't Be a Show, he talked about there being some rumors that were true that didn't get traction, so they never talked about it. Yeah, I'm sure that has happened as well. Yeah. They're adopting the new Avengers, Captain America's story, where he's easily manipulated by the Illuminati, and they're calling him dumb and blindly noble. We're in for a treat. Yeah, something like that could be interesting. I don't know. I mean, you know, the other part of this, too, is that I truly think Shine and Daniel, whether or not they're actually the same person, right? Because, like, I don't know. There's still some people that are like, no, they're not, and whatever. Like, I'll call Shine her. I'll call Daniel him. I'll refer to them as separate people. I don't really give a fuck. But it is weird that both of them have, and especially Shine, but Daniel, too, has reported things about Doomsday in such a way to try to make them sound as lame as possible. Like, have you noticed that? Like, she tries to make it sound as lame as possible, and she couches it in such a way as to make it sound as lame as possible, right? So, like, you look at, like, what she said after the events of Endgame, but before the events of Loki Season 2. Steve finds living with Peggy Carter and all the sun. Let me tell you this in a different way that could be true, that is just the same. It's literally just the way you word it. So she says, after the events of Endgame, but before the end of Loki Season 2. Here's what I would say. In a moment, right before realizing that he has to take control of all of the timelines, Loki visits several key important figures for his multiversal Avengers team, one of them being Steve Rogers. And then instead of the TVA will erase the timeline because Steve is not meant to be there, Steve being in this timeline would destabilize the multiverse and cause damage, so Loki takes him to a place where he will be able to remain safe until he is needed for the multiversal war. Like, those are actually not that different from each other. One is said by a person, like let's just say that that's what it was. I could see Shine reporting it in a way to literally sound as lame as fucking possible. Because she sucks ass and she's terrible. Just the worst. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Hey, Josh, I think you may have missed my super earlier. Question was, why do the X-Men even need to engage Toby to destroy his universe? What could he do to stop? What would it look like to destroy it? That's a good question. All right, let's address this question because I think it's a good question. So, Manny asks in a very generous super chat, why do the X-Men need to engage Toby's universe to destroy his universe? What could he do to stop them? What would it look like to destroy it? There's several options here. One would be the anchor being thing, and maybe they need to kill Toby to kill the universe because he's the anchor being of that universe. Terrible, and we've heard that luckily they're probably not going to do that, so I don't think that's what it is. Reason number two, and far more likely, is that the universe has to be destroyed because the incursions, which at one time in the MCU were probably just destabilized space-time and universes colliding, have now become a cascading thing. Now they're more like the comics. Now the X-Men have to destroy other universes, and if they don't, then both universes will be destroyed. So now we're more in a comic book scenario where they actually have to destroy the universe. And so they bring their X-Men in and they start to destroy the universe. So then why would they need to stop Toby? They would need to stop Toby because if it's anything like what it was in Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars, they would be studying these other universes. Maybe they have a version of the Bridge. Maybe Binary, the one in that X-Men universe, allows them to actually open up portals and see into other universes so that then they see what heroes are there. Because maybe it's just as simple as whenever you enter a universe, you want to identify the most powerful people on that planet, the ones that could potentially stop you from doing what you have to do. If they're destroying the world by Magneto switching the poles and then causing a bunch of chaos and destruction and literally like ripping the planet apart, then the heroes of that world or the metahumans of that world or the enhanced of that world are the ones that would stand against it. So that's probably more what it means. It's either an anchor being thing, and that's why Toby's important, which I would not like, and I don't think that's the way they're going to go. Or it's like, no, we just have to destroy this world, so we're going to identify who are the characters that would most stop us or stand up to us, and this guy Spider-Man is one of those. That's probably what it is. You know what else is kind of interesting, dude? Remember in Loki season 1, the first time you see them setting the pruning, it's all the matter energy, and then the Alioth like smoke goes up, and then that's what creates the ripping of that universe. It's all that matter antimatter stuff. Even within the little bombs that they set, it's matter and antimatter. New Alex P Q&A has some interesting stuff. Oh yeah, did he just publish it? Did he just publish it? Where's it at here? Where's it at here? Alex Perez of the Cosmic Circus. Okay, yeah, we got a Q&A here. Should we read the Q&A together, guys? Should we do it? Should we get into the Q&A? Should we get into the Q&A? Talk about that Magneto Utopia stuff? Yeah, what do you want to know? Oh, it's a banger from Alex? Hell yeah. Should I put on a coffee then? I feel like if it's a banger, we should get another coffee. You know, smoking a pancake, bonging a blitz kind of situation. What do you guys think? Will you wait for me? If I go put another coffee on? Do it. Vague posting 101? I mean, he is a pretty good vague poster, yeah. Nah, Russo's used the F4 ship like JJ used the mystery box. What? G the free? Hell no, it can't be that. Why would Loki care about saving Steve Rogers, though? I think the only reason he would is because he knows Steve can help the multiversal Avengers to potentially overthrow Doom at the end of time. But who knows? That could be a fanboy dream. All right, let me put a coffee on. Hang on here, you freaking buttholes. And then we'll do this, and then we'll call it a day. Oh, God, why? Hey, coffee's coming. It's coming out of the machine right now. Whoa, so cool, bro. Whoa. Oh, God. All right, y'all ready? I paused Fallout for this. Hurry up. What? The hell? Oh, you got that Doom Funko? Nice. All right, here we go. Brand new Q&A over on the Cosmic Circus. People said this one was pretty juicy. Let's see what reveals Alex has for us here. Okay, here we go. Starting off. Hello, Alex and Lizzie. Thanks so much for hosting these. My question is, will Peggy be a Doom Witch? Whoa, right off the bat. Right off the bat with some fire. By the way, they made this question up. And ain't nobody glazing y'all like that and actually asking about Peggy being a Doom Witch unless it's me. So they're probably making up these Discord people that are... Anyway, it's more of a follower of Doom than a witch, but not because she's evil or anything of the sort. She just thinks that what Doom is doing will help her and her son fix the current status of the multiverse, which is partially the fault of Steve Rogers. Oh my God. Oh my God. Well, that changes things. Good thing this fake person on their Discord asked such a poignant question. I mean, I was just fooling around when I was talking about that. I didn't even know it was real. Joke's on you. I didn't know shit. I was just fooling. And I tricked you guys into revealing it. So, she's a follower of Doom, not a witch. Not because she's evil or anything of the sort. She just thinks that what Doom is doing will help her and her son fix the current status of the multiverse, which is partially the fault of Steve Rogers. Mother of God. That's a big one, huh? That's pretty wild. So, okay, yeah, this changes things a little bit. So, remember we were just speculating about how maybe Doom uses the fact that Steve killed the universe and destroyed his family to get Steve to help? Doom will convince Steve that it's his fault, and therefore he has to help? That is pretty interesting. Okay, let's keep going. I mean, that's like a fucker of a thing. That is like tough to think about, dude. Man, the Russos were not lying. Challenging the audience is super true, huh? That's a pretty spicy meatball. Okay, next question. Hi, Alex and Lizzie. Always a delight to get a chance to ask you questions. Who are these You guys, can I get some more glazers? Everybody loves Alex and Lizzie and glazes them so much. What the fuck have you guys done? You guys don't treat me nice. Fucking buttholes. Alex and Lizzie, always a delight to get... The next person that asks me a super chat. You never read my glaze? Oh, okay, sorry. The next person that sends a super chat better start that fucking super chat with, "Hi, Josh. Always a delight to get a chance to ask you a question." I want that level of glaze. What is the main connection / thread between Agatha All Along, WandaVision, and Doomsday that you have been hinting at for the last few days? It mainly has to do with the concepts of magic that are explored in the shows. As much as this film is heavily based on the multiverse, time, science, a good portion of it really goes into exploring the supernatural. The Darkhold, the runes, the way Agatha absorbs magic, it's all relevant to something Doom does in Avengers Doomsday. All I can tell you is to be aware of the man who carries the word of God. What the fuck? What the fuck? What is this? The fuck you doing, Alex? What you saying here? All I can tell you is to beware the man who carries the word of God. The word of God. The word of God. Interesting, right? I mean, what could this mean? There's a lot of things I'm thinking of. Okay, so there's a lot of, if you've ever studied alchemy or looked into some of the beliefs that people have about, like maybe spellcraft or the supernatural, even within the real world, there is an idea that, spelling, the reason they call it spelling is because it's a spell. Grammar has to do with the grimoire or grammar. There's like a word. It all like has to do with the same kind of idea or concept. And in in the Bible or whatever, it says like in the beginning there was the word, right? But that's actually a mistranslation to what the Greek said. The Greek is there's a word known as logos. Okay, logos is not just words. Logos is taking what is upon high or godly power or energy, creation energy. Logos is how you make sense of it, how you organize it. So it's more than just words. It's words that organize mind power, spirit power, infinite power. So, yeah, pretty interesting. The word of God in and of itself is kind of like an interesting thing. Like, what would that mean just in general? Is it the logos of God? Is it like some kind of original spell of creation? And who is God in this scenario? Is it the celestials? Is it the one above all? Is it he who remains? Look, a lot of, we're going to go really weird. I'm just fucking vibing on it. We're going to a really weird scenario here. Do you guys know what Gnosticism is? What Marvel is currently cooking in this saga, and potentially what they have cooked with the Ultimates universe in the comics, has a lot of similarities to Gnosticism. Gnosticism is a belief. Sometimes it aligns itself on a lot of like what a lot of Christians believe. There used to be a lot of Gnostic Christians, but essentially Gnostics believe that this world is a fake world and that it was created by a being known as the Demiurge. Okay? And this Demiurge maybe doesn't even know that it's a false god. It's certainly not the actual god of creation that created everything. And so the Demiurge, being flawed, created a flawed reality. This reality is flawed, it is evil. There's a darkness to it. It is fake. But when this statement here says, beware the man that carries the word of God, is that the word of the Demiurge? Is that the word of the creator of the false reality? Or is it the word of the true creator God that is like actually connected to the monad and other Gnostic concepts? This is pretty wild. And then you talk about like, what is the Darkhold? What are runes? The way that Agatha absorbs magic, something that Doom will do. I wonder if Doom is gonna pull a Griffith. Anybody know what I'm talking about when I say that? I wonder if Doom will pull a Griffith. This absorbing of magic. Do you remember how she would get all of these magical people? She was even creating covens of witches. Then she would start this drama, and she would get those witches to then use their power on her, and ultimately what she really wanted was their power. What if Doom and this group of followers and this coven of witches and wizards that we've been hearing about, what if it's all just to get them to turn on him? He absorbs all their power, becomes godlike, uses the word of God, meaning the first spell. Yeah, I don't know. Could be crazy. So Berserk, guys, the whole Berserk thing is, there was a character known as Griffith who had a band of the Hawk, the White Hawks, I believe. And he had all these friends in this company. He was their leader. They all admired him. They all followed him. But he was doing all of this because they were just sacrificial cows to a spell so that he could gain demonhood. Yeah. That's like a thing that happened in Berserk. It's this big twist with the eclipse and all that sort of stuff. So wonder if Doom is pulling something like that off, man. Like gathering all these people, gathering all these forces, even possibly creating the conflict that then causes them all to flip on him and he absorbs everything, pulls a Griffith. That would be wild. So we're 2 questions in, and this shit's already fucking crazy and blowing my mind. Okay, next question. Alex and Lizzie always look forward to these. Stop saying shit like that. Is there any truth to the theory that RDJ Doom was Iron Man originally, but was tortured by Kang and ended up believing he was Doom? There's no truth to that theory. In the same way that Chris Evans can play 2 different characters in the MCU with the same face, so can Robert Downey Jr. play Victor Von Doom. And just like how now we have a main Johnny Storm with Joseph Quinn, I'm hearing we'll eventually have another Victor Von Doom. What? Another crazy fucking question. Patty Poop! Where you been? So there's a couple of different things that are going on here, right? On the one hand, you might be inclined to read this and say, Alex is saying we will get another Doctor Doom, which is possible, and maybe we will. And maybe that's how they'll cook it, right? But there's also the possibility that we're literally just going to get other Doctor Dooms even in this movie. And he's more talking to the fact that in other universes, Doom could be played by somebody else. Like, that's just as possible, technically, by what he's saying here. So he's literally saying that Downey can just play 2 different characters. Now, I'm just going to say, I want to say a couple of different things about this. Number one, I still don't believe it, man. I still don't believe it, and I'm just not going to believe it. Maybe I'm wrong. Read the damn super chat. Brother, I absolutely fucking hate it when you guys do shit like that. Like, I get it, but I'm like talking about stuff. We're like in a segment. Like, I totally get it. Just remind me when we're like out of the segment. Like, nah, dog, I'm sorry. It is not like the all caps, go read my super chat energy. Not it. Not it. It's about the segment. Well, we'll find out after the segment what your question is about the segment, dog. That's how it's going to work. So he's literally saying that there's no reason, no logic to it whatsoever. Here's what I'll say. Like, do you guys think that's possible? And would you like that? Because, like, bro, I would not like that. If there's no explanation whatsoever as to why Downey is Doctor Doom, then it's bad casting. Period. Like, if there's no connection to Tony Stark and Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom, zero connection whatsoever, bad casting. Period. And I don't believe it because I don't think they would do that. If it is that, though, and it's still really cool and really good, of course I'll be like, yeah, that's still really cool and really good. But I'll still just be like, nah, the casting people were right. This is bad casting. I just don't believe it. And the other part that makes it awkward is, John, if what John said is to be believed, they don't explain this at all in Doomsday. And what Alex is saying is actually lining up with some other things that I heard from people very early on when there were leaks and rumors about it, right? That it is a Chris Evans thing. So he's echoing or parroting things that I heard other reliable people say back then. People that I know have been wrong about shit. Like maybe Gene, maybe the whole connection with Steve and Doom and all of that sort of stuff. So I don't know, man. It's a weird one, right? Like, I don't believe it, and yet we're going to go through a whole year with Doomsday, and we'll get into Doomsday, the film, and there's probably not actually going to be an explanation. For basically a year plus, up until we get into maybe some more of the leaks and the rumors with regards to Secret Wars, we will not know. But I just personally refuse to believe that there's no reason whatsoever. And in fact, like, if you look at the way John answered that question, I think he was saying that there is a reason. It just won't be explored until Secret Wars, right? But yeah, that is a fascinating one. Like, dude, I gotta tell you, if there's really no reason whatsoever, then Marvel is guilty of what some of their worst critics accuse them of with regards to this exact thing with Downey. And I do not think it's going to go well for them if that's really what it is. Now, on the other hand, we haven't seen Doom. We don't know how dope it's going to be. Downey as Doom could be so good that we're just like, yeah, who gives a fuck about Tony or any of that sort of stuff. But again, I cannot possibly believe this. But I am interested to why Alex believes this. You know what I mean? Yeah, interesting. Okay, will any of the projects coming out this year have any major ties to Doomsday? Vision Quest and Brand New Days are the closest things, but it's very, very light. Huh, that's kind of interesting. Don't really know too much of what to think about Vision Quest. Honestly, it'll probably be another thing that I skip. But Brand New Day, of course, is really, really interesting. I'm really interested in why we don't have a trailer yet. It feels like there's got to be a reason. Like maybe Daredevil spoils something for it. Maybe Doomsday. Like, I don't know. It almost feels like they want to do something else before they do this trailer. And a possible explanation could be how connected it is to Doomsday. But I do find it interesting that he says it'll be lightly connected to Doomsday. I do wonder what that means. If it wasn't RDJ, who do you think would have been great as Doom? I'm not 100% sure. I actually like the Cillian Murphy pick. I don't really know. I think the Downey casting, like a lot of people were like, yeah, but he's Iron Man. Yeah, it's weird. Like, it doesn't make sense. There are other people that could be better. And I think ultimately, if there's like no explanation in the story, then they're all right. Like, they're just literally correct, you know? Like, that would be so ridiculous. Like, we literally just got the guy that was popular in the other role because he's popular. Like, that seems so crazy to me. So yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of trouble believing that one. Let's see here. Alex, let's see here. The official Doom having an opening narrative in the Library of Worlds in Avengers, or is that just an idea thrown around? That isn't true. There was a concept of Doom discovering the Library of Worlds, but in that same concept, he also discovered the Sanctum of Infinitum from What If, the nexus of all realities, a citadel at the end of time, the void, limbo, and so on. Nothing was ever set in stone. Okay, interesting. Yeah, Library of Worlds, probably just too late in the game to add that in. All right, let's keep going here. Basically, a year now that Doomsday is going to be the biggest Marvel movie ever in terms of scale. One thing that made Infinity War and Endgame feel so gigantic was that there were plot lines that were all happening simultaneously throughout the films. I was wondering if you could give us the main plot lines would be following throughout Doomsday. That's a good question. It's a bit more unified and cohesive this time around. Yes, there's a bit of different teams, but eventually they'll get together for the film. Yeah, I actually think that tracks with everything we've heard about the movie, especially considering that Steve is already going to be on that ship and like land on 616 essentially there to convince the Avengers to fight. It does feel pretty streamlined in that sense, yeah. Let's see here, blah, blah, blah. Should we expect to see the cosmic entities? The most I heard about was the Watcher, and that's about it. Yeah, another thing that it's just probably kind of too late in the game for, and it also kind of aligns with other things, right? There was going to be a scene with the Living Tribunal, I think, and Doc Strange, or maybe it was Eternity as well. But yeah, it just seems like a lot of that stuff has not gone well, so they've gone away from it. The photos, the actor's costume, legit. I can confirm that there was a very substantial leak, Doomsday Pictures, during the last days of 2025. I will, however, not address their content on this page. Okay, interesting. Let's see here. They all try and characters Secret Wars instead of Doomsday, meaning they won't be in Doomsday's middle Secret Wars. Some will, some won't. Brand New Day and Vision are in the yes category. All the categories, the characters returning. Okay, so he's saying Brand New Day and Vision will return in Secret Wars. That makes sense? What are the chances Secret Wars will be split into two parts? The current rumor, blah, blah, blah. I'd like to pile onto that rumor and say there's a very high chance that they could. Interesting. So he's giving some credence to the Secret Wars being split into two parts here. And he says, and the reason why is that over the last few days, the team here at the Cosmic Circus has been monitoring updates for developments on multiple Marvel projects and have discovered that the Avengers Secret Wars, which was originally supposed to start in the coming months, has now going into what is known as a conditional start phase. Essentially, it means that Marvel cannot legally film anything for Secret Wars until the new verification of the contract is achieved. In a few instances this has happened, it's because there's been massive shifts in what the production originally looked like. For example, one now being split into two parts. Okay, now this is an interesting answer for two reasons. Now, on the one hand, if Secret Wars gets split into two parts, I just think it's worth talking about how assumptions can be wrong. Do you remember what Campea said about this whole story? Because I do, because y'all won't shut the fuck up about Campea, and you always tell me what he says about stuff. So you guys had said that Campea thought that Secret Wars getting split into two parts was bullshit, and there's no way that they were actually going to do that this late in the game. That would have been a decision made long ago. But what Alex is saying is that the start of Secret Wars filming has been put into a conditional phase, which usually happens when contracts are being reworked because the scope of the project is way bigger or different than what it was originally done when the talent signed the contract. If Alex is correct, which, like, again, Alex has been wrong. I mean, just the other week, Alex said, Brand New Day trailer just did some shit. It's probably coming out in a few days, and it's been weeks. So, you know, everybody's just trying to do the best they can with the info that they have. None of these people are perfect. Everybody's trying to do their best. But it just shows that, like, if what Alex is saying here is accurate, then John was just plainly wrong. That Marvel literally is changing it super late in the game, even though technically they had that plan years ago. They are now shifting to that plan, and that is crazy. So that is wild. But let's keep going here. Let's see here. As for Bob, I cannot comment anything about his Secret Wars role just yet, probably due to maybe potential spoilers for Doomsday. Now that it seems Avengers Doomsday could be a new film in the trilogy, would a third movie in Secret Wars be the story stretched by splitting it into 2 films, or it would be genuinely a follow-up. If the trilogy happens, it would extend the Multiverse Saga leading into its conclusion. Yeah, it's just an extension. Wow. So this is a pretty crazy Q&A, guys. So a lot in here, a lot that we need to just fucking digest. I think, okay, so number one, Feige is on Team Doom. Steve seemingly on Team Doom. Doom maybe using the fact that whatever Steve did destroyed his timeline to guilt trip Steve and Feige into being on Team Doom. That's crazy. Then there's stuff about magic, the magic in the movie, the Word of God, Doom having something called the Word of God, using magic in the Darkhold and the runes to absorb magic maybe from everybody. That's fucking crazy. Alex hard denying that Doom is an Iron Man variant. And if you're really clear about what he's saying here, the question was, is there any truth to the theory that RDJ's Doom was Iron Man originally and was tortured by Kang and ended up believing he was Doom? But the question is there any truth to the fact that Doom is an Iron Man variant? Alex says no. Then he says, in the same way that Chris Evans can play 2 different characters, so can Robert Downey Jr. Now, if you really think about what he's saying there, if there is an explanation eventually for why Chris Evans is in these 2 different roles, then that same explanation makes it so that Doom can do it. What that explanation is not explicitly said by Alex. You got to be real careful with these motherfuckers, man. This motherfucker Alex Perez, you got to be real careful with what he's saying. And just like how we can have a main Johnny Storm with Joseph Quinn, I'm hearing we'll eventually have another Victor Von Doom. Again, that is actually super vague. I don't know exactly what he means by that. Probably just means that there could be other Doom variants, which you would imagine is true. Will any of the projects have... Okay, that's not... The rest of it is not a really super big deal until you get to the part where maybe this shit's going to get split into 2 different movies. That's actually pretty juicy, baby. That's actually pretty juicy. What do you think of that, chat? And yes, I will go back and read Kaylin's super chat now. God! Alex has been paid off to not confirm the rumor about Doom being a Tony variant. Well, he's probably incentivized to not do it. Yeah. Yeah. Only Heather can defeat Doom. Jesus Christ. All right, let's see here. The Word of God is a magic book from the comics, brother. It contains magic to manipulate reality. Oh, wow. Okay, I'm not familiar with the Word of God then. We'll have to look that up in the comics. What comic was that in? Hey, Josh, it's really nice of you to host these streams for us. Hell yeah, and I need more of that sycophantic energy. And just more of that energy, Rossi. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome that I got out here. I put these lights in my kitchen. I put fucking product in my hair. I put glasses on my face. I washed my ass. And I sat in front of this microphone. You're fucking welcome. Rossi says, Word of God plus Doom equal Rabum all. Yes, probably, but where's the praise for me? FanJXer says, hey, Adam, always, or what the fuck? Adam says, hey, Josh, always a delight to ask you a question. Why does your kitchen studio look better than your garage? Fuck you, Adam. Hey, oh, fuck you, Adam. Fuck out of here. Yeah, well, maybe you'll learn how to do goddamn deployment properly in Warhammer. What about that, Adam? Huh? Dr. Doom says, no trailers this month. Where's Kaylin's super chat? Bro, do you even not have a super chat in here? Did you even super chat? Oh, wait, here it is. Steve will be the one on the ship with Doom, and they all... I literally went over that shit, dog. Bro, there ain't no way this was the super chat you were all caps telling me to go over when I literally went over it. Dog. Kayla! No! It cannot be, bro. Is this the one? Is this what you were upset about? I literally went over it. Read the chat? Maybe the TVA takes... I did go over this, though, bud. I'll go over it again. Steve will be on the ship with Doom, and they'll all meet in Wakanda Necropolis to discuss the incursions. Maybe the TVA takes Steve later into the film. Okay. We did go over that. I will look at the Alex Perez tweets. I can't imagine that maybe he tweeted something in response to something we just talked about on the stream. That's never fucking happened before. But to Kalen's question first, yes, that would be sick, dude. The Necropolis, if that's where that scene is and that's where Namor is at, beautiful. Chef's kiss, you know what I mean? So that'll be great. The TVA takes Steve later into the film. Maybe, man. I mean, we know the TVA is involved somehow, so definitely could be something like that. Yes. I was talking about Braden's super chat. You yelled at me for no reason. Okay, well, I feel bad. To be fair, it is actually not the first time I have yelled at you for no reason. Maybe not you specifically, but chat, I tend to yell a lot. It is often for no reason. I've been mistaken before. I've misinterpreted a chat. I've had people type the most innocuous, whatever things, and they're banned now. They're gone. Okay? I'm sorry. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I snap a little too much, you know? Hey, Josh, it's always a pleasure to have you spoil us with the leaks. Do you think Loki will leave the throne during Doomsday, or will everyone be racing to him? I do think he leaves the throne eventually, yeah. Yeah, I do think he does, yeah. Yeah, appreciate it. Den of emotional and verbal abuse. Do you guys think I abuse you? Do you guys think I emotionally and verbally abuse you? And do you like it? Like, are you maybe into it? I'm just trying to get to know you better. I'm just trying to get to know you better. So, yeah. Sorry to repeat, but did you read my super chat? Ah! I mean, thanks, bud. Let me see here. I think I did read it. I do not see your super chat, buddy. You just throw it into the chat, man. Josh banned me. Yeah, I'm sorry. I've probably banned, like, let's be real. At least 60% of the people I banned deserve it. At least 60%. But that also means 40% of the people I've banned probably don't deserve it. Like, some of you guys will hit me up and you'll be like, dude, you banned me. I literally have no idea what I said. And I look at your name and I'm like, what's your YouTube name? And they're like, okay. And I'm like, nothing. I don't remember at all. You never get glazers, just a chat full of haters. Thanks a lot, Honeycomb. Ban him, please. Get him the fuck out of here. Can someone on a Hot Mic episode, Mike sent a super chat, said den of nerds, more like den of turds. And I was like, hey, you don't say that. Thanks, bud. That's incredible. You know what I mean? Like, it is wild, Gratitude, by the way, gratitude, guys, truly a superpower. Truly a superpower. Like, I was thinking this morning, because like it's all about framing, right? It's all about what is the story? Like, what is the emotional home? Where are you at emotionally? You can be very successful. You could be dead ass poor. Where do you live emotionally? Like, where's your mindset? A lot of people that are like very successful or whatever, live in an emotional home of scarcity, of anxiety, of concern, of all of these really negative feelings. And so although they gain and have success in some ways, they actually live in like if you're thinking in terms of like spatiality, like the thing that's closest to them is like negative, despair, anxiety, all these sort of things, right? So I was this morning I was just like thinking about, because there's a lot I could focus on, right? Like I could focus on the fact that I'm not pumped about not being in my regular studio. I could focus on the fact that like, oh, we're gonna have to touch on some draining topics today, or like chat will absolutely say some ridiculous silly ass shit, or maybe just talking all caps and it'll trigger me or whatever, right? But I had this moment where I was like, yeah, but I get to smash some pizza and wings for a late breakfast. I get to have copious amounts of caffeine, hit the blinkers, turn on the camera, and talk shit about nerdy things and cut out segments and make money, and my community will feel entertained and all that sort of stuff. And I just got grateful for it, where I was like, you know, I'm really grateful to have that life, to be able to do that thing, you know? And so, like, some of you guys, you'll say stuff like that, like den of nerds, den of turds in like the Hot Mic podcast, right? And I'm just like, what a blessing. Like, what a funny life to have, that I've reached some weird level of internet fame just by literally coming out here and yapping, basically. That you guys will go bug John, you know what I mean? Like, give a super chat to like John and them just to talk shit to me about me in front of another whole community. Like I'm fucking somebody, dude. You know what I mean? Like, now granted, I am somebody in a very niche online nerdy community. I mean, there are dozens of us, right? So let's not get crazy. You know what I mean? We're not taking over the world or anything. But it is something to be grateful for. You know what I mean? It is kind of a funny, weird life. But I am grateful for it. So whoever said that and whoever did that on the Hot Mic podcast and all that sort of stuff, like, I really am grateful for it all, you know? So thanks. It is funny though, you know? Bojack says, which do you think would get more traction in the future? Let me make sure I'm not still recording this. Oh my God, I am. 33 minutes on that segment. Holy shit. Okay, what did Alex say on the Twitter? Somebody hit me up with what Alex said. Did he say, hey, to sub-quote vague tweet Josh's stream, you're fucking wrong about RDJ. Wanda's the GOAT. Vision Quest is great. Fuck you, you stupid chud. Was it something like that? Who do you think will get more traction in the future, Warhammer or the Cosmere stuff? Both have an incredible opportunity, man. Both have an incredible opportunity. I think the Cosmere, like what Brandon has done and his fans, he has a launch pad that's, I think, unbelievable. And I think there's just so much promise in that arrangement. The Cavill Warhammer thing is similar but different, actually. You know, these are both somewhat of Hollywood outsiders. Cavill has a bad rep and has been kind of kicked around Hollywood a lot because he doesn't play ball with a lot of the, not just the weirdness, but the control from on high, you know, breaking the lore and all that sort of stuff. They both have a lot of commercial opportunities. Warhammer is worth a ton. It's a very profitable company. They're doing great. The Cosmere is incredibly successful, but it is more of an indie thing. You know what I mean? Like, all of Brandon's success is, it's really phenomenal, especially when you consider that he's like still kind of an indie guy as compared to like more mainstream stuff. But his numbers just do not compare to like what Warhammer has done numbers wise. Maybe total books sold, but I mean, Warhammer probably generates $40 million every like 10 days or something. I don't know the exact number, but it's a $5 billion company. The market cap is $5 billion. Billion. You know what I mean? Like, the Cosmere is not worth $5 billion. Although I am interested in what he got paid. And if Apple does this correctly, the Cosmere could be worth billions. So they both actually have a lot of opportunity. 100%. 100%. Star Wars Sith says, I was this comic shop and this group of young girls was in the Warhammer section buying all the female custodies. Warhammer is blowing up, I guess. That's the wrong kind of blowing up, dog. That is not what we want. You should have went over there, smashed it out of their hands and said, no girls allowed. Now, let me tell you about a real girl brand, Star Wars, and then held up like the Force's female shit. So you could have really helped us out, dog. Like, you could have really helped us out. You fucked it up. But anyway, Underwear Taker says, how does Storm control weather? I thought she was for Magneto to do. I thought that was for Magneto to do. It's actually, I'm not 100% sure how Storm controls weather, but it's actually probably similar to Magneto. You know, maybe it's a more, like, he obviously controls like electromagnetics, magnetism itself, and weather is more than just that. There's things like pressure, temperature. Weather is beyond the scope of just that. But in some regard, yeah, they are very similar. Rossi says with a 5 spot, I have gratitude for being an MCU fan because the DCU and Snyderverse sucks a hard one. What the hell? The fuck? I don't even know how to respond. I don't want to respond to that. I got nothing to say. Now, what did fucking Alex Perez say, huh? What did this motherfucker... Scarlet Witch's role in Avengers Doomsday is described as being slightly unexpected. Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, all right. Yeah, all right. Yeah, all right. Okay. What the fuck is this? Oh, it's the actual word of God. Okay. All right. Cool, cool, cool. Now, let me see what stinky ass fucking Alex Perez has to say. Okay, so he's clarifying the stuff about the word of God. Okay, so there's going to be a book that's actually the word of God. Understood. Is that literally, you guys were like, man, you guys get hyperfixated just like I do. Except it's worse because, like, I like me, you know? Oh, God. Is that what you guys are hyperfixating on? The Word of God book? When do you think we'll get a confirmation if Secret Wars will be split into 2 parts? Probably soon. Probably soon, man. I got to tell you, too, I love that. I love that it could actually happen. I think that would be great. You know, we've already talked about it before, but yeah, for all those reasons and more, I think it would be great to split that shit up, man. Give us a trilogy. See you next Tuesday, Alex. Yeah. So what you're telling me is Warhammer is a sausage party? Sounds lame. You're gonna get me in trouble, bro. Justin, it's not that women ruin everything, okay? So get that out of your head. It's just that they tend to ruin all my favorite hobbies. So, you know, let's be clear. Let's try to explain it with nuance and, yeah. They better not ruin dinner. That's all I know. Jesus Christ. Here we go. Alex said RDJ is a temporary Doom and will be recast in the reboot. That's one way to interpret what he said. And if that's really what he means, he should be more clear about it. That's a perspective issue. Yeah. The W in Warhammer is for women? What the fuck, dude? Oh, man. If they split Secret Wars, what do they do in between the movies? It's possible there's 1 or 2 other projects that could come out. We heard some stuff about like a Thor 5 or like a World War Hulk or something. There actually has been some projects that could line up. But in all reality, guys, they probably just do a really crazy filming schedule for Secret Wars, split it up, make it maybe 9 months later, and then don't have anything. Then maybe they just start X-Men a little bit sooner or whatever and get X-Men ready for 2028, 2029. It is wild, huh? Sisters of Silence look pretty awesome. Cake and ice cream all day. Yeah, Sisters of Silence are great. I actually played, when I played Adam last night, I had an army with a lot of Sisters of Silence, actually. And they were cool. The Watcher will be in Doomsday. Did we cover that in the Q&A? So, Kalen, what he said was the only thing I heard about was the Watcher, and it was like a small thing. I don't think he's saying the Watcher will be in it. I think what he's saying is, if the question is, will there be any of the cosmic entities? Alex is saying, the only thing I ever heard about was the Watcher, and it was a while back. Like, unless I'm crazy, that's what I got out of that. Let's see here. Yeah. there's the question. It says here, with Doomsday, should we expect to see any of the cosmic entities? Since the multiverse is ending, I would expect that they would get involved. The most I have heard about was the Watcher, but that's about it. That does not mean he's confirming the Watcher, bro. He's saying the only thing he heard about was the Watcher. Well, what does that mean? At what context? During what time of the period? Are you saying the Watcher's in it? He's being vague. You know what I mean? Alex Perez is vague. James Gunn lies. It just is what it is, dog. You're looking at people interpreting? Yes, that's a lot of social media. A lot of the aggregators will put narrative on top of things, yeah. I'll get into Warhammer if Shin plays a custody. No. And you know what? With an attitude like that, we don't want you in Warhammer. You know? Jeez. They call me the Watcher. What are we, some kind of watchers or something? No, Warhammer, next big thing. No woman allowed. Only wieners. My God, you're really fixating on the one specific part of the whole male thing. But no, it's not that there's no women allowed. It's just that we don't want to put up signs that are like women are welcome. Okay? Again, it's a subtle thing. We're not trying. And I don't want to, and I don't even want to get into it because it's like everybody's going to get all these misinterpreted. You guys are misinterpreting what I'm saying. You know, like you guys don't know. You guys don't know what I'm saying. It's not no women allowed. It's let's make it so women don't want to come over here. You know what I mean? It's hard to navigate these conversations, you know? Like I'm trying to vague post like Alex, dog, you know? Sheesh. All right, any other thoughts, comments, questions, anything else going on out there in the world? Guys, that's a pretty good stream. 2 hours and 45 minutes? That's way too long of a stream. What the fuck happened? Oh, Jesus. Okay. All right. Anyway, appreciate you guys. Much love, man. Thanks for being here. Pretty good little Wednesday. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Maybe you should have read my chat about the word of God sooner. Smack my head. Yeah, I just wish Kaylin would have told me about it in all caps in the middle of a segment so that I would have got to it sooner. Jesus, supposed to watch my back. Appreciate y'all. Thank you for being here. Much love, man. Hope you had a good one. We'll be back at it tomorrow. We'll be back at it on Friday. Friday's members only. Hey, by the way, I had to buy a Blu-ray player to figure out the nerd EFAP. I'll explain it all Friday. If you're a member, come on by for Friday's stream. We're going to be deep diving on Iron Man. We're going to EFAP it, pausing every frame, going over all the details, getting nerdy as fuck. Should be a good ass time on Friday. So come on by for that. It's going to be crazy. Really appreciate you guys. Much love. And as I always say, I hope you, that's right, you, are having an awesome end day, nerdy day. And I'll see you in the next video. James Gunn, the type of dude to come out here and be like, wait, what the fuck is this? Turn that shit. What the fuck? No, I was making a James Gunn joke. What the fuck? Start over. Hang on. James Gunn the type of dude to come out and say his boss was just committing some light perjury and that Superman was an incredible smash hit, a success beyond all comprehension. If you don't like it, there's something wrong with you. If you can't see that it made so much more money than Zack Snyder's movie, which literally made more money, then there's something wrong with you. If you can't see that the goofy-ass, silly-ass Guardians of the Galaxy Gooner bait slop is perfect for DC, then there's something wrong with you. Oh, it's such a glorious day. Ted surrenders. I love this guy. He should have just been like, and it wouldn't have happened if Zack Snyder had continued and the whole fucking crowd went crazy and Congress gave him emergency powers, making him Caesar. And then by order of Caesar, Ted Sarandis brings back the Snyder Cut. Wait, has the mic been on this whole time? Hey, wait. Is everybody gone? Did everybody leave? Another happy landing, man. Another lovely day in this timeline. I'm gonna get on out of here. You should do the same. Go enjoy the rest of your day. Touch some grass, drink some water, move your body. Open up your third eye and wash out your stinky, stinky butt. Do it. It's stinky. You probably haven't washed it in a while. It's stinky. Okay, bye.